cricket.
Guerrilla cricket. Whoa. Guerrilla cricket. Whoa. Guerrilla. Take guard, man the barricades, patrol the cover boundary. At last the time is come, this is a cricketing emergency. Hear this call to arms for every cricket revolutionary. Take up your bats and stumps for the test match insurgency. At first they tried to silence us, but we would not be silenced. They threatened us with lies, so we threatened them with violence. Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket. It's not about the winning, it's about how many rules you break. Even in cricket commentary, this is the best advice to take. Pick guerrilla cricket, it's the finest choice you'll ever make. There's so much more to cricket than rev counters and a slice of cake. But first they tried to sanitize us and clean up our act. But people like it filthy, and we know that for a fact. Fidel Castro, Lenny Pasco, Carlos the Jackal, Umar Akmal, Mahatma Gandhi, Grant and Andy, Brendan Behan, Austin Ian, guerrilla cricket. Stick with us, cause you know we're not the kind of thing that you see on the TV and the radio. So vive la revolution. First they tried to buy us, but we would not be bought. Okay, we were, but then we ran away, and we will not be caught. We would not give up the ghost when they left us all for dead. They decapitated us, but we just grew another head. Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket.
Cometh the hour, cometh the man. Ben Stokes stepped up from the periphery of this game and with his first meaningful contribution grabbed what could be a crucial couple of late wickets. Pakistan could have been out of sight, but they're not, and if the Ben Stokes magic can be liberally scattered upon his batting teammates, England still have a chance. Good morning, good afternoon, good dawn, good dusk, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Guerrilla Cricket. I'm Gorilla Hendo, Nigel Henderson, and it's day 4 and probably the final day of the first test. Pakistan stand at 137 for 8. The lead is 244. We were saying keep it down below 250 if England can wheedle out these last couple of wickets for very little addition this morning. We have game on. Alongside me, in a virtual sense, in Exeter and in Epping Forest, and I don't know, the land of Nod for all I know, it's Annie Chave.
I'm not in the land of Nod.
No, not in the Nod. I'm sure someone must be in the land of Nod. I'd like to be in the land of Nod, but I was forced out of my bed early this morning. And Nestle Boy is back. He's struggling with the heat, poor old Nestle Boy. He's melting.
Oh, I hate it.
He's a little Irish ice cream, and he's falling apart at the seams.
Is it really day 4? Are you sure?
Yeah.
It is day 4. Yeah. Well, yeah. There was that sort of.
Can it?
It started on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We just had a rainy day.
Yeah, we just don't know what day it is when we're doing cricket these days, because they start on Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, and then the county championship starts on Saturdays now, which is quite a good thing. in terms of getting crowds into the ground. Were they able to go into grounds? Isn't it odd that on the first time that you get County Championship cricket starting Saturday and Sunday for the first 2 days, no one is allowed in the
That's
grounds?
bloody sod.
That is just old sod. Yeah, I know. He's always around his sod, and he thinks his law goes, and I don't like to agree with him. Anyway, what do we see? What do we see happening this morning? Can England? Can they chase 250 or more? Annie.
Well, they've got the man who could do this on form at the moment, haven't they? So Stokes, he could come in and get these last 2 wickets pretty quickly.
Yes,
or not.
Or not.
I'd be inclined to open with Stokesy this morning and just rough them up, rough them out, get them gone, and then we get down to the proper cricket, don't we? We know what's on and what's needed. Anyway, the teams are out there. We should jingle up the people who are involved. I forget who's out there batting. Yasir Shah is one of them, and Shaheen Afridi was out just before the end, wasn't he, last night? But it looks like it's going to be Yasir Shah to take strike, and he has a jingle that is magnificent. Whichever one it is, it goes like this.
Oh, a pet! Here comes a leg spinner. He's got a googly to admire. Fucking hell, it's Yasir Shah.
Well, they're not going to blast Yasir Shah out with Ben Stokes, but they are going to try and blast him out with Jofra Archer. He looks like he's going to be opening the bowling this morning, and he has a jingle that goes a little like this.
Will break your helmet, break your heart, hotter than lava, cooler than Bogart, in your face, at your stumps, on your toes, on your mum.
Yes, indeed, it's Jofra Archer. Of course, Ben Stokes bowled the last over last night, so he may also open the bowling from the opposite end. I, for one, want to see a bit more of Dominic Bess, because I know how much the Bear loves him. And I think Dominic Bess is the man to spin them out with his violent turn and dip and all things spinny.
I think they would be delighted, especially with Butler keeping.
Oh yes, if Butler was to take a magnificent catch down the leg side off a thin lance, that would be absolutely perfect, wouldn't it? Now, Jofra Archer looks cheerier than normal. He sometimes looks a little bit morose, but he's looking quite serious and quite relaxed and grinning from time to time. He's running up to the wicket to bowl to Yasir Shah, and Yasir Shah plays that well into the onside. If he hadn't got bat on that, he'd have been plumb LBW, but he has, and he's got 2 runs, would you believe? Oh my good God. That means England can't possibly win. 246 now the lead. If Yasir Shah is going to score one of those hundreds like he scored in Australia last year, England are doomed. Yes. Who's doing tweets, by the way, out of you two?
I am.
Oh, right, okay, we'll come to the Twitter sphere very shortly, because I'm sure we've been joined by loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of people. Could you just stagger when you come in, people? Because you all pile in at the beginning, and then it gets a bit quiet later on. Archer in to Yasir Shah. He's a bouncer, and he's pulled that. He's got on top of it. He's played it really well. There is a man back, but he's at deep square leg, and that has gone through mid-wicket. And already the lead is 250.
2 + 2 is on man.
Yeah, it wasn't that short, but it was well played by Yasir Shah. I mean, this must be the way that he has to play. He has got some shots, and he likes to take on the bowlers, and he might as well, because he's technically not the best, but he's a combative little fella, and that was a very good shot indeed. Archer into him again. He gives him another bouncer, and he uppercuts. He's uppercut that over the wicketkeeper, would you believe it? And he's got 4 more. Oh no, disaster, woe. Oh my goodness me. I don't have a jingle, but the bear has disappeared. Come back, it was the 4 bear.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Trying to sink you out.
This is so typical of England, isn't it?
Oh dear, now this obviously wasn't a good move. It's a very clever shot. I'm not sure whether he got it on exactly the right part of the bat, but it did the job. It's no good, Archer. It's no good, Archer, grinning at him. He's just hit you for 2 4s. Anyway, Yasir has moved rapidly on to 22. Joe Root looks absolutely nonplussed by all this. 147 for 8. Here comes Archer. 4th ball of the over. Well, it's a sort of a pull, more of a flack into the onside behind square. Just the single this time. I think England are going to have to give Yasir the single and attack from the other end against Mohammed Abbas, and then of course Naseem Shah, who is the only man to come. 148 for 8. Mohammed Abbas comes down the face. He's yet to get off the mark. There's a stray ball out at deep mid-on. There is a ball on the field.
This is Hardy.
What that they're using.
Does that mean none of the runs that have been scored count?
Oh, well, let's hope so. Count back. Yeah, let's count back. Let's start again. Let's just start again. So, 11 runs off the first 4 balls. Is someone going to retrieve that ball rather than... What we don't need is someone like Ben Stokes or Joe Root to chase after something, step on a random ball and break their ankle. That would be particularly unfortunate. Anyway, we got rid of the ball. Jimmy Anderson threw it to the edge of the pitch, and this is nicely played by Mohammed Abbas. Again, he took it off middle stump. It was very full, and he's annoyed that he didn't get it past square leg, because that was quite a nice shot, actually. Anyone want to say anything on the tweet, like hello?
Yes, I've got Muttley says,
hello, Muttley.
Woof. Morning, folks. What's everyone's predictions for this match? England win, Pakistani win. Any bold enough to predict a draw? Love and sausages.
Would do.
No. Pakistan to win by 113 runs. Archer in, bowls. Mohammed Abbas crabbily gets behind that. Defends it back to the bowler, and that is the end of a nightmare first over from Jofra Archer. He might have been up at 90 miles an hour, but he disappeared to the boundary a couple of times. 148 for 8. The lead is 255. It looks like it's going to be Stuart Broad. Let's jingle him up.
Sweep the leg, Brody. Got the best headband around. Something else gotta keep her down. Got the best headband around. Your ego ain't gonna beat you down. Got the best headband around. Even though your hair is thinning now.
Well, the worst thing that could happen to England is if they were to let Pakistan get away with a 40 or 50 runs here this morning in double quick time. But Broad has bowled well. 9 overs, 3 maidens, 2 for 23. He now has 506 wickets in Test cricket. He's just adjusting his waistband. He also has the headband, of course, as the jingle alludes to. 2 slips and a very fine gully. You might even say you've got a first slip, a second slip, and a fourth slip. A man at deep backward point, a man at deep square leg, extra mid-off and mid-on. That is the field for Stuart Broad. Yasir Shah's not quite ready. Broad was just about to come in and looked up and saw that he'd moved away. But he is now waiting as Broad runs up. He's in and he smashed that into the onside. Wow, he's picked that up and deposited that down to wide mid-on for another boundary.
1 2 ka 4 4 2 ka 1. My name is Lakhan. My name is Lakhan.
Well, Broad getting a bit of the treatment that Broad sometimes meets out at number 10, but Yasir Shah is all shots this morning. He's moved to 27 from 20 balls. And Pakistan have gone past their 150. They lead by 259. I don't know, 270 plus is out of the question for me as
They
regards
should have done
England
what
winning.
we said and put Stokes first.
Well, yeah, Ben Stokes probably should have bowled. Jofra Archer only bowled 5 overs in the innings. He didn't go straight for Jimmy Anderson, so why not back to Ben Stokes? Brought in, smashed up in the air, but then dropping short of Jimmy Anderson at mid-off rather. He really didn't get hold of that, and it looped up, but no one was near enough to come in and take the catch. So Yasir survives. Score remains 152 for 8. Don't forget, the GPL is open. It's always open at this time in the morning. It's open until lunch, and you have until then to guess how many runs will be scored in the day. You go to guerrillacricket.com/competitions. One of the slips comes out to mid-wicket, a deepish or a set back mid-wicket. Oh, smashed up in the air. Where's that gone? It sounded fantastic. That has gone miles, I think, over mid-wicket. It's signalled as a 6, and England just do not know what has hit them this morning. It's the whirlwind called Yasir Shah. Oh, the connection there just sounded glorious. Really did. I mean, I shouldn't have the sound up, but I have got it up slightly, so I better turn that down a bit. But this is extraordinary from Yasir Shah. And
Yes, this is exactly what they need and we don't need.
yeah, very much enjoyed by the Pakistan teammates on the balcony. Jimmy Anderson comes across to Stuart Broad. Says, what's going on? What's going on here?
Root does not look happy.
Well, no, this is another example of the initiative being snatched again in this seesaw kind of a game.
What is it about the first hour here? I mean, I just don't. Always something happens. It's not straightforward cricket ever in the first hour.
No, well, it's been designated as a crucial first hour by the authorities.
No way!
Yeah, they said this is officially a crucial first hour. So I think we've had that most days. Anyway, what can Broady do here? He's gone for 10 from 3 balls. He races in. It's going to be short. Now it's going to be full, and it's defended this time by Yasir to extra cover, and there is no run. He's not trying to hit everything. Just saying, well, I can actually bat sensibly, but when the ball's up there, I'm going to give it a damn good thrashing.
Bat sensibly. That's what England have got to do.
Bat sensibly. Well, there's nothing sensible about this batting in one sense. In another sense, it's perfect sense.
Well down, yeah.
Sense? Does any of that make sense? Probably not. We've got a mid-wicket, a deepish mid on, deepish mid off, extra cover, gully, slip, and Broad will just be happy to have got a dot ball there, probably.
Yes.
Who races in again. Bowls to Yasir Shah, who smacks at this one, has got an outside edge and is caught behind, and I think Broady just had a little word as
Butler?
a rather small man walked past him, and that is the 9th wicket down. So it was entertaining while it lasted, but it didn't last very long. The lead is 265 and Yasir has gone for 33. Yes, you did. You messed about, and then we caught you out. So he goes for 33 from 24 balls. Dismissed at 9 minutes past the hour, but it was a wonderful 9 minutes, wasn't it, Annie?
Well, it was a wonderful catch by Butler, I think.
Oh, it was absolutely brilliant. I mean, the way he didn't
Just
move.
read the bloody tweets.
The way he didn't move.
Just
Well,
get
he
on the
didn't have to
social
move
media,
to catch
stop
that. Was
talking.
absolutely astonishing.
I have got quite a few tweets.
Let's do some tweets.
Jay Grover swears a lot about fruit flies, so I think he's having a bit of a problem with fruit flies. Mogg says hello. Martin Lawrence says hello. All the talk about 4-day tests in recent years, and that looks exactly what we will see here most likely. Ross McD says, evening from Korea, Gorillas. I'm actually optimistic about England chasing anything below 270 here. Don't ask me why, though.
No, well, yes, you should be able to justify that.
Yeah. Spangly Sly says, what ho, everyone? Leah says, Malzite.
Malzite?
Sorry.
What's that mean?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Anyway, Naseem Shah has come to the wicket. He averages 3.33 in Test cricket, which is will please England a little bit more. And he has a jingle that goes like this.
When Naseem Shah left home, he said to his dad that you're the man of the house now, because Naseem Shah is just that good.
I love the end of that jingle. It's brilliant. Here comes Broad into Naseem Shah. He drives! Oh, he's dug that out and he sent that straight past Stuart Broad at head height, and it's gone for 4, would you believe? What a Well, he may have got the wicket, Stuart Broad, but he just seems completely bemused by what is going on out there. It was right up in the block hole. It was brilliantly dug out and then sent flying back past Broad, who thrust a hand up without much hope of getting it on ball. And extraordinary stuff. That is the end of the over. Pakistan have moved on to 162 for 9. They have scored 25 runs in 2 overs.
That's exactly what we wouldn't have wanted.
Could be the crucial 25 runs of the day.
Well, it is a crucial hour, let's face it.
Indeed.
Ross McDonald's McD says the little bastard tried to get a foothold here too, managed to sort it out. Deeply annoying, and he's talking about these flies that are hassling Jay Grover.
Yeah, I mean, there's no direct connection between Sheffield and South Korea. In comes Archer, and Mohammed Abbas has joined in the fun. He's leant back and lifted that rather agriculturally over the top of extra cover. Broad runs after it and field, so he gets his first runs and goes to 2. Pakistan to 164 for 9. He cleared the front leg, was leaning back, but managed to get it over the infield and brought 1 or 2 amazed expletives from the mouth of Jofra Archer, it would appear. Oh, this is fun. Archer in again, bowls, and he turns this cleverly into the onside, runs through for the single despite Jimmy Anderson moving swiftly to his right and throwing at the non-striker's end. So Mohammed Abbas, I was going to call him Zahir Abbas for a moment, and he's batting like Zahir Abbas, it has to be said at the moment. 165 for 9. He's moved to 3. Naseem is down. He's got 4 from 1 ball. An extraordinary strike rate for Naseem Shah of 400 per 100 balls, something like that. Anyway, man goes down on fly slip for the uppercut. He's into Naseem Shah. He follows him with that, but somehow he's flapped at it and he's got it away up and over Joss Butler, and it's gone away for 4, but it's been signalled as leg by, so maybe that came off Golder. Let's have another look at this. Yeah, it's gone off his shoulder, looped up and over the hapless, helpless Joss Butler, and run away for 4 more runs. Doesn't matter how they come, don't have to come off the bat, especially when you've got your last pair there. And these are all very important runs for Pakistan. In comes Archer, bowls, and he's bowled him! He swung across that. It was the most agricultural shot you will see
Very
this side of the Stoneleigh cow fair. Anyway, 169 all out. Rory Burns nips off. Dom Sibley runs off. They've really got their work cut out when they get it back out there in 10 minutes. Pakistan are all out for 169. England will need 277. 277. And 277, while not impossible, is not regularly cased in the 4th innings in Test cricket. So with the bowling strength and variety that Pakistan has, England, well, if England win this game, they will have done brilliantly from this position. That's all I'm going to say. Let's go through loads and loads and loads and loads of tweets to fill the next 10 minutes.
Okay. Jay Graver says, morning all, I'm normally a man who believes in personal liberty, but my distrust of gun rights has been reinforced because I just tried to headbutt a fruit fly. One of my favourite courtesies, now soaked in blood. This fruit flies are really hassling Jay, I think.
How big is a fruit fly?
I don't know, if you try
like some sort of an enormous dragonfly thing.
What's the difference between a fruit fly and a fly?
Fruit flies like fruit. Okay.
Do you not remember? Sorry, I'm just going to butt in from the producer's chair. Drosophila. Do you not remember doing experiments on fruit flies at school?
No, I refuse to, out of sympathy for fruit flies.
Only frogs at my school.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna dissect any flies.
No. Jay Graver says, "Yay! Yasir Shah cheered me up. Now I just need to worry about my defrosting scampi." Leah says, "You forgot to put out your customary 'We're live and you can listen to us here' tweet." That's because Knuckles not here, I'm assuming.
That is because Knuckles not here, and the bear has got about the sort of a sixth of the capacity of a knackle, I think you'll find, in terms of putting things out on Twitter.
Oh yeah, he's making rude gestures now.
Yes, well there you go.
Farong says, "Greetings, gorillas, from the ugly man in Dhaka. Day off at the local. Pakistan to win by 15 to 25 runs." I think that's not a bad shout, actually.
Well, that would be a great finish if they only win by 15 or 25 runs.
We have. It's still anyone's game. I bet you England on the win vid is going to be like 60%.
No, they're not. But they just showed Pakistan was 69%.
Really?
England can win this game.
Yeah, they can.
They won't. That's
They
the
can.
problem.
But they can. Any results are possible.
Do you know?
Come on.
I've always said that about England. They can always win a game when it starts, but they rarely do. You're very quiet, Nestle boy. Why are you so quiet? You're a bit distant. You're a bit smaller than normal. Come closer. Oh, that's better.
There, you look. Yeah. Oh, no, he's back again.
No, come closer. Come to
Well,
us.
I don't want to. I'm
to
as
us.
close as I can get.
No, you're normally closer than that. You're normally closer. People
Well,
need to be able to
because-
see you.
Because I'm not using that big microphone this morning, you see.
Oh, is that what it is? I like your big mic.
Well, it just means that I have to keep going like this all the time, and my neck was
And you
hurting at the
disappear
end of
then.
the.
I thought that was good sort of exercise for the abdomen.
Look, I have
My
more
neck-
tweets, by the way.
All right then. Sorry.
Sorry.
Keep going.
Jay Grover says, I think I've got concussion, Hendo, so I'll be staggered any which way.
Yeah, those fruit flies. They've got really hard heads.
Eunice Khan's notebook says, good afternoon from Bombay, gentlemen and ladies.
Hello.
Thank you. A few more, eh? Ravi Nair says, morning guys. This is not just to say hi, but also to irritate Hendo by front-end loading your tweets received. I shall not tweet for the rest of the day.
Yeah, well, that's typical. I mean,
Thanks,
why do you get such much pleasure from causing us harm?
I've got a lovely tweet from Martin Lawrence. He says, the most iconic thing of the show, the Annie Chave laugh. It's a highlight of my day.
Oh,
There you are.
no one says
Thank you,
nice
Mike.
things about me like that. What's
No,
wrong with my laugh?
Well, you don't do it very much.
I
Very
laugh quite a lot.
sickening, isn't it?
Well, a little bit.
I just think it's something to do with the lack of blonde hair on my head.
Yeah, well, maybe you should grow
Maybe,
some.
maybe I should. Yes. Back to more tweets.
Adrian Lowe says, oh dear, this is not a good start. Oh, really?
It wasn't.
And Jay Grover says, oh bother. Jay Grover says, Annie's on tweet, anyone fancy cribbage? Leah says, as I should declare, just to rub it in, then proceed to thrash England inside a session. So that's a bit fleeting, sorry. I'll go. Annie reading tweets. Buttles takes a catch. Coincidence? You'd think not, says Yo's Khan's.
Oh, it's the power of the power of the chave. That's what it is.
Yeah. Aninya Dutta says, hello, Aninya. Look forward to being on shortly.
You will indeed. You will be on when. Well, we're hoping that Tony has sorted out his technical problems that he was having this morning. He was really riling the bear. I can tell you, the bear was as angry and aggressive and nasty and brutish as I've ever seen him.
Oh, the bear just doesn't understand if you can't quite understand the little
Technology, yeah, he doesn't. He's not.
And
he's
I'm
not a-
with Tony here because
He's not a patient teacher, is he? The bear.
No, I wouldn't want him as my teacher. He wouldn't want to teach me.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine him as a driving instructor? Jesus.
Well, he's got onto Zoom on Twitter, and he's having a go at them now.
Oh, was he?
He's having a go at the flowers now. So it's the
Oh
birds.
dear, this is excellent stuff.
Can I carry on with tweets?
Yes, just do
Yeah,
carry on.
yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
Josie
Get up
Oak
to date.
says. Pardon?
I said
Get up to date.
Oh right, okay. Josie Oak says, "Good afternoon. I'm still in Joburg."
yes. Right.
Evil Scooter says, "Some quality Tim Southying from Yasir Shah. That's what the COVID crowdless stadium like to see." And Leah says, "Malzi literally means meal, but it is also used as a greeting around midday." Ah, thank you, Leah. Mog says, "I think I said this the other day, but I don't remember actually doing the Naseem Shah jingle at all."
Oh, you don't? Well, it was amazing. It's an amazing jingle, especially the end of it. So were you under the influence of some sort of weird substance, or just
Might have
asleep?
been, yeah. Martin Lawrence says, "Joss fan club #1 member. I am #1 fan of Annie." There you are. So you must like Joss as well. So, Jonas Khan's notebook says, "Pakistani bowlers better than England bowlers in both bowling and batting."
Yes.
Hawkser says, "When Broad is going for a few and you say the captain is not looking happy, would it be worth Broady reminding him the batsman had us 3 for 12 and Broady was second highest scorer with the bat?" It's true.
Was he second highest scorer in the end?
Was in the first, yeah.
God, and he only got 29, didn't he? So yes, so it was Ollie Pope with 62 and him with 29. Blimey.
Annie fan club has a waiting list now. Apparently, Jonas Khan's notebook says. I don't think it's very long.
I was going to say, is it 18 years? Like the MCC.
Jay Grover says, "Fly slip. You're in on it, Hendo."
Oh, as in fruit fly slip.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
I like it.
Yep.
And then Jonas Notebook says Joe Fruitfly is one of the Fab Four flies. Well, almost. Grits and Grat says, is the bear a knuckle nano?
I don't know what that means. He's swearing about the number of tabs that Knuckle has left open this morning on the various computers.
I'm nearly there with the tweets.
Go for it, Annie.
Reddish Ship says, checking in from Gloucester here. And Ravina says, fruit flies are from the Drosophila genus, the honey lovers. The most famous is Drosophila melanogaster, I'm good at this, the red-bellied fruit fly, which is possibly the most experimented upon animal in the history of genetics. They're tiny compared to houseflies. Yeah, I always get them on my fruit.
Makes me feel a little bit sad for the fruit fly. He's up against it, isn't he? Or she.
Mark Zip says, J. Grover fruit fly trap, easy to make. Orange juice, red wine and vinegar in a glass with cling film over the top. Poke holes in film with toothpick, couple of days later sorted. Also clean fruit and removed to safe space. Thank you, Mark. That's very useful because I get quite a few. And Grits and Grat says, if Hendo did go platinum blonde, it would complete the Bond villain look. Go for it.
Well, okay, all right. I'll order that in my next grocery delivery. I'll get some blonde bleaching. And
finally, Neil Franklin says, morning, Johnny B is out in the middle, batting at number 3 for Yorkshire at Trent Bridge. Live is out. Thank you. Any updates I'm really happy to get, because of course I have no idea what's happening. Somerset?
Who is Somerset playing today?
I don't even know. I haven't looked.
What?
I know.
Annie Shave?
I think it's Warwickshire.
The biggest fan of Somerset ever doesn't know who Somerset is.
Well, I kind of...
It's all an act, isn't it, Annie? It's all a
I don't care at all,
You've never been to Taunton in your life, have you?
I knew I was doing this, so I didn't want to think about it, so I put it to one side. I did choose my fantasy team last night, so I was concentrating on that last night as well.
Was it Joss Butler? He's
not in my team. He's not in my team, and he's not my favourite.
Market Trescothic.
So hang on the basis that he's not in your team, you're actually you've lost the faith.
No, because it's a county. It's the Bob Willis Trophy.
Oh, it's only people. Well, he might have to go back and play some of that before.
No, he won't.
Long.
He won't.
He won't play any. Okay.
No,
the England batsmen are out at the crease. This is the crucial first 15 minutes, as designated by the ICC and the ECB and the PCB. And we shall jingle up the England batsmen.
He's got the dread of a champion from Surrey. His mustache is ugly, got a shot finally, and his name is Rory Bird. Fish and batting, he made huge runs of rumours spread by word of mouth. This guy's really talented. Dominic Sibley. It's always time for Shaheen Afridi. No, not that other guy, that Shaheen. It's always time for Shaheen Afridi. No, not that other guy, he used to find the ball. Shaheen Afridi.
Left arm over the wicket, bowling to left-hander Rory Byrne as the ball moves away from already starting a good 8 inches outside off stump, and Rory Burns is happy to let that one go. Quite a lot of swing, but maybe starting a little bit earlier than Shaheen would ideally want it to. Was unable to draw him into the shot. Now, these boys, Sibley, when he fails in one innings, normally does quite well in the next one. So I have some confidence in him. Burns, I'm a little bit worried about his trigger movement across the crease, the front foot. He then struggles to withdraw that leg and gets into trouble when hit on pad. Anyway, he's settling down. He's full of grit, and he plays this second ball into the offside quite nicely. A lovely little click on the bat as it went there to extra cover. Fielded by the captain Azhar Ali, and there is no run.
You feel that England can't afford to lose a wicket before lunch here if they're going to get anything out of this game at all?
Well, I mean, the longer that they can put the longer partnerships they can put together, I think the better.
They need a proper test opening partnership this morning.
They do. 3 slips in the gully, backward point, extra cover, mid-on, square leg and long leg. Again, the default field as Shaheen Afridi is in, and Burns plays that well. He goes back and lets the ball come right close to him and then defends into the offside, and there is no run.
And
these guys have proved that they can stay in, though, haven't they? But they also have a dodgy technique that could easily have been found out.
Yes,
I think England are definitely at the lower end of these two teams when it comes to staying in myself.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a massive commentator's curse I put on there.
Yeah, okay, thanks for that. Shaheen in again, bowls to Burns, and Burns plays this one very late indeed, almost alongside his off stump, and just drops it out into the offside. There is no run. Yes, the GPL is open. I mean, you can guess how many runs you think will be scored today, and if you give us £1 each time you do that on our website, guerrillacricket.com/competitions, you will go into a pot that is worth about 50 quid at the moment, and obviously it will go up the more of you that take part, and if you get it on the nose you get whatever's in the pot.
£49.
£49. I said it was around 50 quid. Almost right. In comes Shaheen Afridi, bowls, and met nicely by Burns. Times this well. Nothing more than a push, really. Mohammed Abbas, no it's not, it's Azhar Ali, who chases back from extra cover to do the fielding, and England are up and running. They only need 275 more. Burns has 2, and that will do him the world of good. Feeling the bat on ball as well as that in the first over might just give him a little bit of confidence, the confidence he needs. Anyway, he's settling down, waiting for Shaheen Afridi's final ball, and he's in. Bowls to Burns now, and Foolish this time defended back to him, and that is the end of the over. England are 2 without loss. They're chasing 277 to win, and hopefully we have more tweets.
We do, but I'll just go to YouTube quickly. Z says England should prepare a green wicket in the next test match, and Pakistani batsmen will be butter and peanuts, apparently.
Peanuts.
Dan DeCrasto says Annie reminds me of another Annie, Haslam of Renaissance. Does anyone know who that Annie is? Because I might have to find out.
Yeah, I think you will, but I have no idea.
Jay Grover says, I praise Hendo when he has a beard and I'm rude to Annie all the time. You rejected a job offer as well, Hendo, though, DOS, because that could be asked to read. And Lee says, I get the feeling that Jay Grover is fighting Merv Hughes, who was nicknamed Fruit Fly.
Oh, he was, that's right, that's absolutely true. Mohammed Abbas is going to bowl his first over from the Jimmy Anderson end to Dominic Sibley. We'll jingle him up after this ball. He's in, and Sibley runs that off almost the shoulder of the bat. A little bit of a way movement, but got enough bat on it for it to go to ground and not be a worry. Shall we jingle him?
I don't want to be crass, but it's time for Mohammed Abbas.
Tish, I like the old drumming bit at the end of that. I'm appreciative of the way that Mog ends his jingles.
Not starts them.
No, not so much.
Or the substance.
Yes. In comes Mohammed Abbas. There's a short square leg. It's defended up to mid-on. So 3 slips in the gully, a short square leg, mid-on and mid-off. And I'll tell you the rest when the camera moves back. At the moment, Dominic Sibley is just scratching his mark between balls.
I'm going to do a shout out after this ball, if I may.
Are you going to shout out?
If I may.
What are you going to shout out?
You'll find out.
All right, looking forward to that. So, Mohammed Abbas.
We do shout outs. I'm going to do a shout out.
I know, but I'm just playing with you. Close to the umpire, close to the wicket, and well, not close to the wicket that he was aiming at, quite wide outside of stump, left alone by Sibley. Go on then, shout out.
Well, just two friends of mine, Graham Bird from Liverpool, and Mr. Stephen Fern, OBE, who Mr. Fern is driving from Land's End to John O'Groats in his VW camper van over the next, I don't know how many weeks he's doing it on, but they're at the moment in Wales on a steam train, the pair of them.
That
having a day.
might take him a bit out off route. In he comes again. Mohamed Abbas a little bit too wide of the off stump. Not any particular nibble at the moment, but we know that every now and again he can get one to jag off the pitch when you're least expecting it and rip you out of the crease. 2-0 wicket is the score. Now, don't people who go from John O'Groats to Land's End or vice versa, don't they normally walk it or do it by a bike? I mean, doing
he's bought one of those old-fashioned VW camper vans.
Actually, I fancy having one of those.
That was one that you were thinking of going on, wasn't it?
This is the same trip.
Yeah, and you didn't, obviously.
No. Mohamed Abbas bowls, defended on the front foot, fielded by a little man at short leg. I think it is Abid Ali, for he is quite short, and there is no run.
You're very perceptive, eh?
Yeah, I know. I realised. It took me a little time, but you are actually here.
They're in Wales, and they're having.
Are they having a good time?
It seems to be, according to the little film clips I keep seeing and the photos I'm being sent. Yeah. But
that's all rubbish, isn't it? You never know what they're really having, what time.
Stephen's the only friend of mine who's got an OBE.
Mohamed Abbas into Sibley. Sibley managed to fiddle this straighter delivery out into the offside. There won't be a single as a man at extra cover does the fielding. The end of the over, it's a maiden. Another maiden from Mohamed Abbas. You don't really need me to tell you that, do you? He bowled 6 out of 7 overs yesterday without England being able to score off him. More tweets.
Yeah. Ravi, the heavy roller ready, says, I reckon Pakistan are going to win the first test. Yeah.
Yes, I think you've got a good chance of being right on that.
Jay Graver says, yesterday I suggested Butler should be chemically castrated and dumped on St Helena. Nestlers did not repeat it. Fruit flies outwit me. I am not a clever man.
I know he's not been brilliant, but I think that's possibly a bit extreme.
Very harsh.
A bit extreme, yeah.
Very, very harsh. But Bear probably doesn't. Ravi Nair says, Hendo could bring his cat on and stroke it as it sat on his lap. I don't expect you to talk, Mr. Bond. I expect you to win the effing test.
Indeed. Here
I
comes
had white cat.
A white cat. Onto the back foot goes Burns, runs this down to Gully, and there is no run. You had a white cat?
Yeah, he died 2 months ago.
Oh, what was his name?
He was called Buzz.
Buzz. Oh no, Buzz has gone.
Yeah, Buzz has gone.
Yeah. Did you rush out and get a replacement?
No.
You haven't. Are you still in mourning?
Yeah, and Buzz cost me probably over £13,000 in vet's fees, so I'm still really.
You're not doing the cat thing for a little while. 2 slips in the gully, a ring of 3 on the offside. Mid-wicket, mid-on long leg. In comes Shaheen Afridi, bowls to Burns, who goes back neatly enough, and again lets the ball come to him, dabs it down to Gully, and there is no run. We've had a message from Tony that his Zoom is just not doing it for him. So it looks like we're going to have the Bear doing ball by ball next. We're also inviting Andinja on very shortly. Nestlers will remain.
Well, Tony could come on and do tweets, can't he?
Oh yes, he's coming on to do tweets. Okay, fair enough.
Well, you can do. I mean, you don't have to have the video for tweets.
Right, okay. Well, if things don't get better, that means I'll have to come back on and do the third ball by ball as well. So Bear will be next as we suffer at the hands of Zoom. Driven nicely by Burns, despite the fact that they've reinforced that offside field. He's found a gap. Shan Masood, I think it is, has chased it back. They've got through for 2 more. England move to 4 without loss.
Yeah, I have to say my Zoom is is just very juddery as well today.
Well, it's frame by frame again. It's the same as yesterday for me. So that update hasn't made any difference. They're throttling us back. That's what they're doing.
Well, we're having trouble, in fact, because a Ninja is saying that the match feed is very patchy for him as well, which is unfortunate. This is obviously, something we feared doing this by Zoom. But
as long as the ball by ball has got a video.
That's basically me seemingly defended on the front foot towards extra cover. So it sounds like you're going to have 8 hours of ball by ball.
Settle in for the day, Hendo.
Yes, I am. I'm doing a Dominic Sibley of cricket.
Oh God! Don't
it's time for me too, Hendo.
Yes.
Well, you've
all
got
right.
a partnership, you and Bear. You've got to stay in. You've got to stay in there, boys.
Yeah. However ugly.
Yes. Well, it's a no ball, so England have another run in their chase down of 277. They move to 5 without loss. I guess Pakistan can't be that confident on the basis that their field is quite defensive for the opening 2 or 3 overs. Into Burns again, just moving away ever so slightly, but too wide to start with, and Burns leaves it alone.
That's a 7 for 2 against
Oh, no.
Northants. I forgot it was Northants.
Don't torture yourself, Danny.
No.
I hope Hildreth's still in. I want Hildreth to embarrass the ECB by scoring millions of runs and never being picked for England. Anyway, we probably don't need him in the middle order. We do. It's difficult to say, isn't it? 5 for no wicket. All the runs off Shaheen Afridi so far, who is coming in speedily. He's got a rapid run. He's in. Bowls to Burns, and Burns flicks this on his way as it's flung down the leg side, and that has gone all the way to the boundary for one of these. Well, I think that was signalled as runs, but it looked more like a leg bye to me. But no, it's been given to Burns. He moves on to 8. And England to 9 for no wicket. The Bear will take over ball by ball at the end of this over. Tony will come in and tweet, and India, all the way from Singapore, will try to contribute from there. We hope that will be okay, but if not, you may have to recall me. Shaheen then in to complete the over. Bowls to Burns, good ball outside the line of off stump, which he defends up to mid-on. And that is the end of the over. It's time for me to take a break. England are 9 for no wicket in pursuit of a target of 277. Burns has 8 of those. Sibley yet to score. And the next voice you will hear will be that of the very deep, growly Bear.
Good morning, people. And hello to you and India, and hello to Tony.
Hello, good morning.
How are you all doing today? Oops. Is life treating you well, apart from Zoom, which is being a real pain in the arse, I have to say?
Yeah, it's but it's just the match feed which is patchy. I guess if you can hear me fine, then we should be fine.
We can hear you fine. You're sounding very clear. Left alone outside the off stump by Sibley, who's yet to get off the mark after 7 balls, and there is no run. Yeah, I think Zoom have had this update, and whatever they've done, or they've picked us out to throttle us on our video sharing because we're doing it too much. It's one or the other, but it's not good for you guys, so I'm sorry about that. How are you, Tone? Yeah, I can't hear you.
He's in mute.
No.
Oh no, you will be able to now.
Yeah, your mic's up around your head. It's all technically going wrong for you this morning,
Schoolboy
Tony.
error.
Abbas is in, nicely clipped by Sibley, gets himself off the mark as it goes out to wide mid-on, and actually it's a little bit of a misfield. That's a Shaheen Afridi there. And he'll get back for 2, in fact. Thoughts on the state of play? Who's going to win? And India?
Ninja to win? Yeah, you take that.
I think England's going to have a very tough time with Shah. I mean, you know my thing with spinners, and you know spinners when they're on, right? And he seems to be on.
Yeah, I mean he is. What do you think of Bess? I mean, I was berating him yesterday. I think he's, a lot of people are having a go at me for saying bad things about him, but I just don't think he's up to it. He's not consistent enough to be a test bowler, is he? As Abbas is running up to the crease, and it's left alone outside the off stump. Thoughts?
It's a matter of experience, right? Of the big stage, and I like the fact that he's got the flight, he's got the right approach, the side-on action, and everything. I think it's just a matter of time, giving him a bit of time.
Yeah, maybe. I'm a spinner. I thought he bowls too flat. I'd rather, as a spinner, I'd rather someone driving at me rather than someone cutting at me, and he seems to drop it short too often. Abbas, aiming at that leg stump, and he's trying to turn it to leg side, gets a leading edge out to cover. Along the ground, it's not going to have any trouble. It's not out, no run. Yeah, I mean, I just look at him and I think he bowls too flat. He doesn't push it up there enough. And his lines, and there were times yesterday when he was bowling around the wicket. I mean, there was that period when him and Root came on the day before, and they came out straight after lunch, and they bowled 2 spinners, and they were both bowling around the wicket to right-handers, ideally to try and stop them scoring runs, but they just got away with it because it was really poor lines. I mean, Root's not a spinner. Outside the off stump, Abbas, and Sibley leaves it, and there's no run.
Yeah, I think he was bowling. He was flighting it much more against the West Indies.
Yeah.
Than in this test. But it's also, it's modern spinners, right? It's just they have the reluctance to get hit, and I think it's a psychological thing which takes time.
Yeah, I get that. Abbas is up to the crease and well defended by Sibley, out to mid wicket, and there's no run. But I just think if I set my field as a spinner and I've got a pretty orthodox field, the last thing I want to be doing is dropping it short, because that's the one area I don't really cover, because I'm trying to I'm trying to draw the guy forward, and therefore if I'm dropping it short too often, or he was shoving it 2 leg side too often, it was like he was looking for the wonder ball all the time. And maybe that is a thing you do have to learn at 22. As a spinner, you want to create pressure, and to create pressure you basically don't want anyone hitting you, obviously, because scoring runs takes that away, but you just want to keep it on the same line and length and make them think. Don't change your decision making because you want to get a wicket. You got dropped short and going down the leg by Shaheen Afridi. Burns is stuck underneath it. There's no run.
There's a fascinating series being done on YouTube at the moment by Murli Karthik on spin bowling.
Cut out.
And he was very, very good. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Things drop out. Go.
So he had Swanee on, and then he had Vittori on a couple of days ago.
Shaheen's up to the crease now, bowls. A little bit of away movement off the pitch, but Burns gets behind it solidly, out to the offside. There's no run. Carry on.
And all the spinners that he had, I think, the primarily finger spinners, except he had Siva Ramakrishnan, but the rest were all finger spinners. And the primary thing coming out of there was the ability to put revolution on the ball. And among modern spinners, the only one I can see really who does that is Nathan Lyon. And as you know, as a spinner, that the moment you lose that, the ball's going to drop, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the problems I've always had is I've got stubby little hands, so I've never won for big revs. That one is driven square on the offside. Poor bit of fielding at point, went straight through him. Who's that? I can't quite see. It's Shah Masood. It goes out towards the boundary, and Burns will get into double figures, 10. This is a much better start by England. We were 12 for 3 in the first innings. Now 13 for none. We're on the way, boys. There's a poor bit of fielding by Shan out there at cover point. Should have stopped that, really. But I'll make Burns happy. Number 11, Shaheen Afridi. It's 2.3 overs. Burns settles down in the crease, and Shaheen is with a very bouffant hair. I like his hair. He's run out to the crease now, delivers full, driven at into the ground, and a crowd catch is taken at gully. No run. Tone, you've been very silent.
Hawkster's with us, just dug deep into the numbers. Broad in 2020 has a bowling average of 14 and a batting average of 51. Fantastic, sounds about right. Jay Grover's saying, I'm not allowed to drive, but I do have wistful fantasies of having a camper van, well, a dormobile, also candles for Buzz, raising a glass.
Was that dust out of the wicket when that ball hit? Yeah, crikey. Yeah, I think Yasir Shah's going to be deadly on this. Maybe not to hit him out of the attack when he comes on. Shaheen Afridi in again, driven nicely by Burns. up to mid-off, and there is no run.
What did they put on this morning? Was it 25? The last couple of batsmen from
They were
Pakistan?
2-4-4 ahead, I think, and they're 2-7-7 ahead, so that's 30 something.
Yeah, you see, I have a sneaky feeling that could be a roughly the amount they win by.
Yeah, it could end up being that way, couldn't it?
Yasir Shah was just making sure he built himself a little buffer there.
Yeah. Shahid Afridi is in again, and he's defended up to mid-on. There's no run. I don't seem to be getting as much swing as they did in that spell against England when they first came out to bat in the first innings, and they've looked a lot more comfortable. As we look at Sibley versus Abbas, getting stuck on the crease, and now they're going to tell us that he's going further forward and meeting the ball. There we go. And they'll have to adjust. I mean, that's the thing. They've had a whole series against the West Indies. They've been adjusting all the way through that for their bowlers, and now they've got to do the whole thing again for these guys. And now a pretty impressive triplet of seam and pace bowlers that Pakistan have. Abbas is going to continue over the wicket to Sibley, who just defends back down the track, and there's no run. But it doesn't seem to be doing quite as much as it did when they first came out to bat in the first innings, does it? It's a lot. It looks a little easier, I'd say.
Yeah, it does. Or you know, the I think the novelty factor of the pace attack has been seen through in the. So I think they're just also being a bit more careful, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, no, I mean, Sibley. Is that a catch? No, he looked behind him, and it was taken by Rizwan. Mohammed Abbas is a big they did bowl. I mean, the ball that got Stokes out was an absolute, I mean, it was virtually unplayable, right? And the one that nipped back as well to get Sibley in the first innings. I mean, he was playing around his pad. He has a penchant for doing that, but it was an absolutely stonking ball. I mean, they really were on it there, and England have weathered this pretty well.
I think Stokes is probably still shaking his head about that one.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he'd nicked it, and I couldn't understand how he was out. But I did see the bails go behind him. I was like, how the hell did that do that? But it did. Abbas is up to the crease, bowls, and again fenced that by Sibley, and Mohammed Abbas just can't believe that he's not nicking these. That's through to keeper, and there's no run. Any more tweets, Tone?
I was just looking to see. I think it's only 4 times ever at Old Trafford that a chase of more than 250 has been achieved.
Yeah, it's not done very often. Well,
but certainly not at this ground.
No.
I can tell you, winning chases in England above 240. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. There's only ever been 12.
And how many have been in the last 20 years? Abbas up in, defended out to cover, and there's no run. Of course, we did it last year against the Australians.
Yeah, West Indies at Headingley in 2017. West Indies made 322 for 5. Let's see, 2001, England made 315 for 4 again at Headingley. But interestingly, all of the ones I'm looking at, 294 for 4 in 2008. England versus New Zealand at Old Trafford, which we've talked about. But that's the only one on this list.
Abbas is in, defended out to the offside, and there's no run. Of course, Butcher against Australia, and when was that, 2003?
Yeah, but not here.
No, not here. No, this is true. But the top order's got to get most of the runs. I mean, that's always how big chases work. Someone at the top of the order gets the opening partnership. You can't be more than 100 for 2. I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, someone needs to get 3 figures.
Yeah,
and others need to contribute. Of course, that was conspicuously absent from England's first innings, bar Ollie Pope with a semi-honourable exception.
Well, exactly. That's clipped nicely by Sibley, 2-leg sidey, and goes down to long leg for a single.
I think the problem also is that you can't depend on Stokes every time to save you, right? Maybe he will. He's still has the purple patch, but you can't depend on that. And Root at some point in time has got to come good as well.
Yeah, Bruce had. I mean, he probably ended up because he got that. He ended up 60 odd not out in that last innings. He was the one not out when Burns got out against West Indies. So he probably ended up. He only had 3 because he missed the first test. So he probably ended up with an average of about 40 for that series. So he got a couple of 30s and da 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 da. But he really didn't. Root has a really annoying habit that we used to really dig Ian Bell for, and that's what he looks so good and then gets himself out more than being got out. And he's had an annoying habit of doing that over the last couple of years. He's always trying to fiddle too much out of the game when he should just. But he's clearly so goddamn talented as a batsman. I mean, it's very frustrating being an English man watching him sometimes.
You've got Stokes.
Oh, we got Stokes, exactly. We got some potential there. That's left alone outside Sibley's off stump and there's no run. And these two actually as an opening partnership, although it's been short-lived so far, exactly what England needed after the Bayliss era. 2 stodgy openers who eat up time and balls and frustrate the opposition, allowing the time for your lower order to come in and have a better time when the ball's older and not doing it.
But when you have Butler coming in at 7 there because he can accelerate or dig in.
Well, exactly.
Digs in but doesn't put the runs on the board.
No.
That's when it doesn't quite work.
Exactly. Shaheen outside the off stump, there's no run. Of course, he owes us a lot of runs for dropped catches and missed stumpings, and that's the difference between the 2 first innings scores.
It is. Jersey Oak says it's surprised we don't have more old lags on now that we don't have to go to Sydenham. Well, we may start to go to Sydenham again, the way things are going here. And are Guerrilla South Africa not doing any? Not quite sure, but I'm sure we'll discuss that at some point.
I'm not sure there's any cricket going apart from that weird thing that was 3 teams.
I think he means joining us.
Oh, right. No, we've got
Us beckons for Tai Ping Shang, who's, as he's a regular thing now, shares a picture of his beer or wine or whiskey.
Nice. Down the left side, Sibley tries to clip it, misses it, goes through the whiz round, and there ain't no run.
Chris TB, Somerset 11 for 3, 2 wickets from my schoolmate on debut, Brandon Glover. Sorry, Annie, but I'm rooting against you today. Jonathan Northall's reminder that issue 5 of Ox Cricket Magazine is out on Monday. Okay, we'll look out for that. And Abhishek Chopra, hello Abhishek. Abbas from one end and others from the other for as long as it takes Pakistan to win this. Don't think too much, Azhar. Okay, so keep it simple is Abhishek's message.
Shaheen Afridi is over the wicket to Sibley, who lets that through once more, and there's no run.
Going back to the openers, you've got hopefully Hasib Hamid coming back at some point in time now that an Indian tour is going to come up in a few months.
Well, yeah, he's had I mean, we thought he was the saviour. But when he got his hand broken in India, and we were like, God, thankfully we found another spinner. Opener. But he's had a shocking time since then. And did he get a ton the other day? We were following him, weren't we? It's defended out to mid wicket and there's no run. Can you remember, Tone? Did he get a century the other day when we were following him? Was it day 1?
Who was this? Sorry.
Hamid Hasib.
He got 50 and 60, I think. I'm not sure he got a ton.
Okay. I think these two are going to be difficult to dislodge though in India for the time being. All openers have troubles with low scores. That's the nature of being an opener. But throughout the West Indies series, one of them failed, the other got runs.
You've also got to do it consistently in county cricket, and don't forget they've only had one round of games.
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
So Gubbo might be knocking on the door, but only if he gets another couple of tons and has an average above 50 during the Bob Willis Trophy, then they might have another look, for example.
If we're going to India, they'll take Jennings, won't they? So they can just sweep everything.
Yeah, and Gubbo's not a great player of spin.
Well, we're yet to see whether Sibley is a great player of spin as well. I mean, he did seem to get stuck a bit against Roston Chase. God knows what he'll make against Jaja in India. It's left her alone outside the off stump. There's no run, and Ashwin and all the others, could be
well, to be better pace attack than a spin attack.
Yeah, true, but even they've got a very good. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, India suddenly have a quality seam attack, but still at home, spinners take the majority of the overs, don't they? I mean, the wickets are just set up like that.
No, the wickets haven't been set up like that for a couple of years. I mean, the last time they had a really bad wicket was when Australia, I think, played at Pune. That was in 2018. Since then, there haven't been too many spinning tracks.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. That'd be hopeful for England. Abbas is checking his run up. But they're still slow though. Are they pacey for the test matches now?
Not as much as you would face in South Africa or in Australia, obviously. I mean, I think the quality of the soil doesn't make that possible. Probably.
Yeah. Well,
nonetheless, the seam attack that India has been the best for a decade or more, isn't it? At the moment.
But as a four-pronged attack, it's the best there has ever been, because we've never had four paces at one time.
Yeah. Very much so.
Abbas is coming around the wicket to Burns, angled in to his off stump, and he just drops it square on the leg side. It's fielded by a backward square leg, and there ain't no run.
Ravi Nair says, dump Best, bring back Moeen. Mo runs, Mo wickets. Neil Franklin says, should leave Best there, I think, not waste him by not playing him like they did with Rashid. And Wobble Seam, who is El Chopanos, aka Abhishek, says, Best and India, Tony, greetings, gentlemen. Well, greetings to you, Wobble, under the nom de plume of Wobble Seam, El Chopanos.
Well, I mean, Australia's wickets have been actually not very pacey for quite some time. Abbas is in and dropped into the leg side, and there's no run. I mean, and the last Ashes tour that we covered overnight, what was that drop in? Was it Melbourne? That was the most dreadful pitch. It had no pace, not a lot of bounce, dreadful draw. It's because they use drop-ins all the time. And
yeah.
They just don't seem to be able to generate the hardness and the pace that they used to get in Australia with all these drop-ins everywhere. And it's a bit depressing. I mean,
the only where you would, as a batsman, be afraid of the pace bowlers, they've just stopped using, right?
Yeah.
The one. So
Abbas around the wicket to Burns, who leaves that through to Rizwan. No run.
When I did my tour of the MCG, the lady who was showing us around was very defensive of the drop-in pitches, because I asked about them in a rather quizzical way that, you know, I was more likely to than perhaps some of the other people in the group, and they were really defensive about it. She was about how excellent they were, how identical they were to, you know, as if they'd been grown there, how it protected the wickets and gave them, you know, longer life. She didn't want to hear an argument that said, yes, but they're not as quick and don't offer as much for as long
exactly.
to the seam bowlers. And she kind of looked at me rather blankly and said, oh God, I've got a troublesome one here, and tried to talk about something else.
That's defended up to mid-on, there's no run. I mean, it is a big problem over there, though. You know, if the wickets aren't as competitive as they used to be. I mean, it's great for Australia. I mean, I suppose if you can bowl at 90 miles an hour, you can get something out of them. And of course, India won a test series there not that long ago, which we covered the fourth test of that, which ended up being mizzled off. Did they win, or was it a draw in the end? No, they won 2-1, didn't they? Yeah.
It was the first India's ever won there.
Yeah, which was great. Abbas around the wicket through the keeper and no run. Of course, that'll always have the asterisk of there was no Warner and no Smith in that side, was there? So
well, you play against the opposition you get, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, totally. I mean, I thought that ban was ridiculous, to be fair. A year?
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this many times on this show, but I mean, in the old days, people used to do it all the time. And, you know, Faf du Plessis been caught, 2 or 3 times in the last 4 or 5 years? And they give him a slap on the wrist and maybe, you know, don't play the next game, mate. And Australia go all crazy and ban them for a year. Defended into the offside. 2 point, and there's no run, and that ends the 8th over. England are 14 for none. Pretty good start.
Ravi, the heavy roller ready, says, interesting fact, England, India and Australia have won the most consecutive test series, 9 series in a row. England beat South Africa and the Windies thus far. Can they defeat Pakistan and 6 other teams That's unlikely given the laws that we know about.
Yeah, that's there.
Obviously all subject to whether they get played. Jay Grover, oh, he's just said something downright insulting. I shall move on. Pink Ball fan says, check the odds over the last couple of days. After day 4, England were at 2, Pakistan at 1.83. Now that 2 wickets fell for not much more than 1.9 apiece, dead even odds. I would find that hard to believe, but there we go.
Yeah, and the book is never in your favour though. Shaheen Afridi bowling across Sibley, and he lets it through and there's no run. Yeah, I was looking yesterday. England should be. I'd have thought it's about 2.5, so about 5 to 2, but I bet they're about even.
Wobble Seam says Hasib got, by the way, 250s for knots the other day. Jay Grover said, please Lord, not Jennings. I kind of agree with you on that.
Yeah, but this is it. I mean, they took him out to Sri Lanka as a specialist. All he did was sweep, wasn't it? You know, sweep. Got himself a ton. And didn't do much for the rest of the series, I don't think. Shaheen is over the wicket to Sibley, who defends up to mid-on, and there is no run. Yeah, I mean, odds-wise, both England and Pakistan are 11 to 10 on. 10 to 11. Yeah, 11 to 10 on. Which is interesting.
I think Shan has sent a beautiful sunset, which I'm going to retweet because it is beautiful.
Where is Taiping Shang? He's in Hong Kong, around there somewhere, isn't he?
I think it's Hong Kong, yeah.
I was probably monitoring the communications. I was going to ask him what it's like under the new Chinese rule. Left alone, by Sibley outside the off stump, and there is no run.
Well, you could be stopped at the airport for saying that. So.
Exactly. It's all gone a bit crazy, hasn't it? But let's not talk about that.
Wasim also says second innings chamois means even in the second innings Indian spinners don't get as many overs as they used to on days 4 and 5, which is a very good point.
Yeah.
What ball do they use out in India? Is it an SG ball?
Yes, it's not a Duke and it's not a Kookaburra, I know that. I think it's SG.
Hands dropped by Sibley, and lets that through to the keeper. No run. Good lead. What's the seam like on an SG in India?
It's a bit more pronounced, I think.
Is it halfway between a Kookaburra and a Duke?
I think it's closer to a Duke than a Kookaburra. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that would certainly help the current
England bowling stocks.
Seam bowlers they have.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Sibley has faced 28 balls for his 3 runs. That's fine by me. Shaheen has decided to come around the wicket to him though. Throws it up outside off stump and he's attempted into a drive well away from his body. Pretty ugly shot really. Bat turns in his hand, he just hits it into the ground. It dribbles back to the bowler.
He bent his elbow quite a bit on that one, if they show a...
Yeah. It's a pretty ugly shot. It's playing well away from his body. Quite easily nicked that through to the keeper, but he didn't.
Leo Wicket Witch says, don't get your hopes up there. Ishant will trample England like a drunk newborn giraffe and Bumrah will look angularly funny while breaking toes.
Shaheen around the wicket, full again and out there, and this time Sibley does connect. That's a nice drive. That's going all the way down to the extra cover boundary for a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, no, it's not. Can that? It got chased down. Damn. By Azza, and he'll in fact only get 3. It seemed to slow up as it got out there. I'm going to move on to 17, and that's the end of the 9th over.
Bear with me, I'm going to have a look on Facebook for us.
Okay, I shall check Hot Mic. We've had a few people join us on Hot Mic, and of course you should download the Hot Mic app and have a go. Neil there says they play too much AFL at the MCG now, not to have drop-ins. Well, that's the case of... isn't that the case with a lot of the grounds? Apart from... Is it only Adelaide that has... No, Adelaide's a drop-in, isn't it? Now? Because Adelaide was the only one that didn't have a drop-in, I think. All the others are now drop-ins.
But Perth is not a drop-in, I think.
Is Is it not? I thought it was gonna be. Because they built that new stadium, presumably they're going to play AFL there. I mean, they seem to love the multi-purpose stadiums in Australia. Abbas is going to continue into his 5th over. He's only gone for 3 runs. He's bowling to Sibley, who defends that up to mid-on. There's no run. Definitely seems that the ball is not this ball for the Pakistan side. It isn't doing as much as the first ball they used against England was doing. So a bit of comfort to England, I thought.
I think it'll get more interesting when the spinners start operating in tandem as well. And that, remember it's day 4, not day 5. Eamon Chowdhury on Crick Tracker is saying England win this match for sure. Well,
no,
that's brave.
And the Yasir Shah comes on and we lose about 9 wickets for 54 runs or something as he runs through us. It'll be interesting to see how Sibley deals with Yasir Shah as he's facing up to Abbas. Now all edged through the slips. It's gone through probably 4th slip, maybe 3rd. Shanab Khan dives to his right. May have gone on the ground and not really reached him, but this time it is one of these.
There's not one boy for me, I must have 2 or 3, I need 4.
He did play it down, reasonably soft hands. There's a bit of cloud cover. The lights aren't on for a change.
I mean, conditions-wise, it's humid, it's muggy, it's a little with a fair bit of cloud cover. It means everything a seam bowler would want.
Well, exactly, but it's
particularly Mohammed Abbas, probably.
Well, but exactly. But the ball doesn't seem to be swinging as much as you think it would be, especially with a new ball. And England struggled on the first morning when it seemed to be perfect conditions for swinging as well. It's defended out to mid-wicket and there's no run. I mean, on that first morning, Jimmy really wasn't getting the ball to hoop, and you really thought he would have done. And I don't know why that was.
Engaged in a drink conversation last night, and around the shape of the England team. And Jimmy just hasn't quite been at the races in this game, and they've had to restructure the team to allow Stokes to bat as a batsman, drop Crawley out, and they retain that extra seamer. But if you have Wokes, and there's a seam bowling position, I'll just hold that thought, I think.
Yeah, that's just defended square on the leg side.
They're jerking and hopping their way towards what looked like a delivery. But yeah, I mean, if you have Wokes, who's been the pick of the bowlers, Broad, of course, and Stokes when he bowls, you can see Pakistan have gone into this game with 3 seamers and 2 spinners. England have gone on with 4 seamers and 1 spinner and Root. You do wonder if Jimmy's position is the most expendable of the positions up for grabs, as it were.
I think it's a bit. I don't think he's had one bad game, man. He's got nearly 600.
No, well, and even there is sentiment in the game, and everybody wants him to get to that 600th, don't they? Everybody, and he's not that far short of it.
No,
there's a lot of things at play, but I do feel Pakistan are just slightly better balanced in this game than perhaps England are.
Yeah, well, we can't pick 2 spinners. We haven't got 2 good enough, really. That's outside Burns off stump. He's easy through to the keeper. There's no run. I still think they should have tried Leach. I'd like to see Leach.
But I'm going to be a bit naughty here and say that whether Anderson plays or not, doesn't it depend on who the captain is?
Yes. And well, I do think that Root has made some odd decisions on bowling changes and in this game. Yesterday afternoon, as Abbas bowls, and it's defended back to him by Burns, and there's no run at the end of the 10th over. Yesterday afternoon, Bess, he got that wicket, and then that happened just before I came back to the studio, and then I was here and I watched Bess bowl for best part of 6-7 more overs, and it seemed to me that he'd gone off the boil a bit. They were finding it very easy to get runs, and Wokes was getting the ball to talk, and then he took Wokes off and left Bess on for 6 overs, and it was only because he ran himself out yesterday afternoon. It was So Shafiq ran himself out, and we got bloody lucky there because they looked like they were easing into it, and then things changed for us. But we were at a point, and even after that wicket, I think he kept Bess on, and it was like, you've just taken the wicket. They made a mistake. They were uneasy. They were looking quite comfortable, and we knew we had to get them out for like 150. And you're right, Root wasn't calling the shots correct for me in here.
No,
anyway.
There was that period after lunch on day 2, or maybe day 3.
Yes, when Root and Best came out after lunch, and they bowled round a wicket, and we're got slapped for 24 runs, and and we just they only got 50 in the first Whereas
session. This morning you could predict. I mean, Pakistan were to come out swinging this morning, weren't they? And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. This morning it worked.
It worked for a little bit, yeah. Left alone outside Sydney's off stump as Naseem starts. I'll give him his little jingle. It goes a bit like this.
When Yasir Shah left home, he said to his dad that you're the man of the house now because Yasir Shah is just like food.
He's quite a handsome looking lad, isn't he, Naseem Shah? As he comes over the wickets and Sibley leaves it through to the keeper, and there ain't no run. 22 for none, England. 10.2 overs.
Wobble seam confirms. Yeah, the SG ball in India, guys. Nice pronounced seam, good bounce for spinners if they can lad it on, and seams and to reverses nicely too. Kookaburra's the shittiest ball, but the most used around the world. Yeah, that is odd.
Yeah, it's a terrible ball of Kookaburra.
Kookaburra managed to capture the entire white ball market, right?
Yeah.
But the white ball is kind of there to be slapped, isn't it? Whereas the red ball needs to have a bit more about it.
That's left alone outside the off stump. There's no run. Yeah, I mean, there was a Duke's white ball, and they used that years ago, didn't they? But I think for the spectacle, they wanted more runs. And I think the white Duke ball did even more than the Duke red ball, didn't it?
Numerically speaking, I mean, in pure numbers, Kookaburra is of course going to have many more, just because there's so many white ball matches played.
Yeah. But it's quite handy having a ball that does nothing in a white ball game where you want to see lots of runs. Not so much in a test match where you want to see a fair challenge. Left alone outside the off stump, and there's no run.
Well, this English summer has definitely been a good advertisement for Test cricket so far.
Hasn't it just? It's been a enthralling series against the West Indies, and this looks like it could be a cracker.
Well, this has had its frustrations for England supporters, but the fact is it's still been a rattling good Test match.
Yeah.
Evil Scooter says Sydney is definitely not a drop-in, and I'm not sure about Brisbane. Adelaide, Perth and Melbourne are definitely drop-ins.
Okay.
Naseem is up to the crease now, bowls, and it's outside Sibley's off stump, and he just lets it through the keeper, and there's no run. Bounces before he gets to Brisbane, kept a bit low, got him on the knee the way he's flexing it.
When you see the seam going through with Naseem, I mean, it's quite amazing. I mean, if you watch that seam going through, it's just straight down.
Yes, I think Wokes is a really good exponent of that as well. He gets his wrist right behind the ball. He has a very good seam, does Wokes. That was uncomfortable for Rizwan. It bounced just before him. Last ball of his first over. Naseem over the wicket to Sibley. Ooh, that bounced a little bit. And caught Rizwan by surprise. That one leapt. The other one kept low. That ends the 11th over. 22 for none.
But I mean, it explains the Wokes conundrum to a certain extent. A prouder seam and often cloudier conditions and greener wickets, and certainly springier wickets. He does magnificently in this country. He travels okay, not as bad as many people think. I think 1 or 2 bad games, but he doesn't have the same success with a Kookaburra ball on different kinds of wickets. That's the beauty of Test cricket.
Yeah.
You have to adapt to different conditions in different places around the world, and whilst it gets harder when you travel, the victories are that much sweeter, and you still need to be competitive. So it is interesting that you have the 3 different balls in different places, and you have different pitches, but those differences are also what makes the game as interesting as it is. So we've got to be careful what we wish for.
What? The bounce has been given out. I thought that was a bit high. Has come over round the wicket as a bounce. I think he might have reviewed that. He's saying it hit the top of his thigh. So it's going to be a review by the batsman. It might just be clipping his stumps because Abbas is quite skiddy. And we shall have a look now. That was quite innocuous to me. It's come in. Yeah, it's hitting right above the pad on his top thigh. It's still going up. I mean, it is quite far back. Because it's, oh no, he's out of his crease. There's certainly no inside edge.
That's his hit on the thigh pad.
He's hit on the thigh pad. He's standing outside the crease. That's got to be going over, hasn't it?
Well, it may just be umpire's call, in which case
it is just umpire's call.
Yep, he's gone.
He's clipping the middle stump, and we unfortunately have to say goodbye to Burnsy.
I won't look back, 'cause by the time that I do, you'll be gone.
There seemed to be a little bit of chat as he left the field there. Yeah, I think he thought, well, that's a bit too high. I was quite surprised he appealed for that. But
well, yeah, but it was given.
It was given, yeah,
and it was correct. That's the conundrum of umpire's call. It either goes for you or against you. It's that that leeway it gives the umpires. It was brushing the top of the bails, and that's enough.
It is enough indeed, and he's gone.
Jay Grover says, my lack of hot mic makes me feel like the nerdy goth kid in an 80s teen comedy. Jersey Jingler is recommending people to listen to Guerrilla Cricket, which is very kind of you. Thank you, Jersey Jingler. Leah says the bear is right. England should have played the Taunton Tendulkar. Ravi, the heavy roller ready, says it's the strangest thing. Both Jimmy Anderson and Roger Federer made their debuts when I was in university. They are still playing currently. What is the secret to their longevity? Good question. But wish I could be taking whatever they take. Merchant Engineer says this has been a riveting contest. Love the quality of cricket put on by both sides. Yeah, we were celebrating that as well. Jay Grover, here's one for you, Ninja. Who is the wise Singaporean? I refuse to take a stab at the name Ninja. We do make it sound like a ninja, like you should be wearing a headband like Broad and Anderson, but it is an India. Is the D soft?
No, it's pronounced. In fact, it's actually pronounced Anindo. But
well, Nari tells us.
after we've had
2
it on
podcasts, several interviews, and at least two goes as summarised where he lets us know we've been saying his name wrong. Brilliant. Anindo.
People have been for a
now
decade.
We know. Well, thank you.
Yeah. No, so as an introduction, I write books. I'm by profession a banker and entrepreneur, but I write books on cricket. So that's.
Okay, well, you can call me Antoine from now on.
Well, the skipper is out, and what can he do there? I'd love a big score from him. We should give him a jingle.
His voice is high pitched and ginger hair like a pick, but massive runs he has hit. So there's that. Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root, actually.
And the first ball, he gets himself off the mark, clips it nicely, out wide of mid-on. Not hard enough to beat him though. And he will immediately get off the mark. I think at the end of this over, we are going to have a little change.
Let me give you one stat from Zahir E. Clark, who's been sending us some great stats. 250 plus chases in the 4th innings of 173 tests for England. 110, drawn 56, lost 107. There you go.
Say that again.
Chasing 250 plus in the 4th innings out of 173 matches. 110, lost 107, drawn 56. That's pretty scary.
It is pretty scary. Well, Abbas is in, and Sibley leaves that through to the keeper, and there's no run. They've got to try and get through to 30 overs without losing another wicket. I don't think. I mean, there's time really is an issue here, is it? We've got 2 days to get 270 runs.
Well, I bet they didn't have Ben Stokes in the 126 or whatever that they lost. So
no. And he didn't get any runs. He didn't get many runs in the first innings. I'm sure he'll want to be. Burnsy was doing an old shush gesture. Someone was giving him some lip. That's 2 leg side. That's nicely clipped by Sibley. There's a man down at long leg, but it's gone pretty square and raced away to the boundary for 4 runs.
2 + 2 is a member.
quite a poor ball from Abbas by his standards. And a bit of a give me for Sibley. As we said, very nice shot. He's now moved on to 15 of 42. And England are on 27. A target of 277. That brings it down to exactly 250. This is where we didn't really want to be much above 250. And extra 27 runs could be the difference. Last ball is left alone outside the off stump. That's the end of my stint for now. It's the end of
Me
Tony
too.
and
Yeah,
Anindo. Nice to have you on. You'll be back later. And Hendo is going to take over ball by ball with Annie and Nestlers again.
Well, I am Bear, but the curious thing is there's still a ball to go in this over. But so you've skipped off a little bit early, but never mind.
Oh.
Never mind.
I thought that was the end of the over. Was that a no ball?
Well, there you go. There you go. Nope, there's still a ball to come.
There's too many of us now.
Hey, honey.
Where's Nestlers? He hasn't returned yet. In comes Mohammed Abbas, bowls to Sibley. That's dead straight, and he has to be very proficient in getting forward and finding the face of the bat to that one. Onto the onside, there is no run. I was just thinking as I was preparing myself for the next commentary stint, and I'd been doing a little bit of research into Ninja's new book, which we'll be talking about at lunch. I was thinking, oh, this is quite good. We haven't actually lost a wicket. And literally, I put my laptop back down on my very lap, and a wicket falls.
So it's your fault.
So it's my fault, Annie. Yeah, I take the blame upon my shoulders. Unlike our Prime Minister. Anyway, that's another story. Where is Nestle Boy? He has disappeared into the ether.
Well, he was getting smaller and smaller, wasn't he?
He was getting smaller and smaller.
Away,
Maybe
yeah.
yes, he's just turned. He's become a tiny little point at the end of a. Is it Event Horizon or something like that? Anyway, Naseem will start his second over. He's coming into the England captain Joe Root, and he bowls and he beats him outside the off stump as he pushes forward. A little bit of a way swing, as Root was feeling for that one. Looking at the dismissal of Rory Burns, and I think this again in the second innings, in the first innings as well. LBW on both occasions, he does have that trigger movement which he's trying to control a little bit, but actually if he continues to just keep coming, he probably plays that ball without too much of a problem off the front foot. It's because he's caught in two minds as to whether to go forward and whether to go back. He ends up going back after coming forward initially, and then gets himself into trouble, withdraws that pad, and when the pad is hit, he's back in line again. This is defended by Root on the front foot, and there is no run. The Bear has stayed with us for the time being because we cannot locate Nestle Boy. He may have been pecked to death by Percy the Peacock.
Maybe it was one of those fruit flies.
Or one of the fruit flies head-butted him.
From earlier,
Fruit flies are very small, man.
Yeah, but you know they've got very big heads for their size. In comes Naseem to Root. Root leaves this one, just a hint of movement away. He is quite swift from a sort of shortish run-up. Sometimes those are the most difficult quick bowlers to face as a batsman. So Root lets this one go.
Do you think Burns should be batting not as he does? I think looking across his shoulder, do you think he's batting with the wrong hand?
Well, they talk about his eye, don't they? The eye that he tries to get round and get into line. I don't know. It's a tricky one. Onto the back foot goes Root. Plays this at the top of the bounce, opening the face out towards backward point, and there is no run.
It's just almost like he is. He isn't what he thinks he is.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is he's had a lot of success in county cricket adopting this method. You have to be very confident that you're not going to take away your strengths if you try to adjust a weakness. That's the problem.
I just wonder if initially he just went for the wrong hand.
Yeah, possibly. In comes Naseem, bowls on the leg stump, and that's really beautifully tucked away by Root. He'll love it all day there, and that has sped to the square leg boundary for one of these.
It's a frustrating thing about Root, isn't it? I hope he doesn't give it away again. I thought he gave it away in that first innings.
Absolutely he did. He'd done all the hard work. And then just trying to cut a ball that was a little bit too close to him. That's again what I say about Root. He tries to manufacture shots that don't really need to be manufactured at times.
Yeah, exactly, especially at the time.
I think it comes from him sort of being so dominant when he was so dominant. He got into sort of habits of just trying to be a little bit more creative than he needed to be.
And we kind of need him to be. You needed him to be around against Yasir Shah as well, because he's a good player of spin.
He's onto the back foot here. He's looking for a single. Sibley comes 2 or 3 yards, but he's sent back by Root, and there is no run. 31 for 1 at the end of the 13th over of England's second innings. They're chasing 277 to win this first raise the bat test at Old Trafford. They move on, of course, to Hampshire and to Southampton. After this one, the WinViz stats say that England have got a 32% chance, Pakistan have got a 68% chance, and the draw will only happen if there's an enormous monsoon or hurricane that comes in unnoticed by Michael Fish.
That never happens.
That never happens. It hasn't happened for 33 years.
God, was it that long ago?
It was, I'm afraid, yes. Well, we're going to have a change. We're going to see spin. Oh my God, it's spin.
Well, this
I
could
don't know
be the
whether
defining moment.
More worried as an England fan.
Yeah.
Whether it's spin or quick. It's going to be Yasir Shah, 4 for 66 in the first innings. He's going to be bowling for Dominic Sibley with just a split and a short leg.
I bowl googlies. Rosies, leggies, googlies, all day long.
Yeah, that's the grubby version. When I say grubby, it's not. There's nothing offensive
Filthy.
about it. It's just done by our commentator Grubby. The first ball that he bowls is actually a full toss, so we don't know whether it was a googly or a leg break. But it was worked into the onside by Sibley, and he took a single. Root comes down to face. He's on 5. Sibley has 16. It's not a bright day in Manchester, but it's probably bright by Manchester standards, let's put it that way. He's got a man in at leg slip now rather than the short leg, which presumably is the googly as he presses forward. He goes back to a leg break and opens the face, finds the gap. Despite there being 3 in the ring, there is a 4th man out at deep cover, that is Mohammed Abbas, and they get through for 1.
It's not a bright day, but the pitch certainly looks dry, doesn't it?
It does. It's not a wet day. There's cloud. There's a bit of blue sky.
Yeah.
Even
it's a bit
down
like it was down here yesterday, actually.
Yeah. In again to Sibley. Sibley gets right forward, keeping that, making sure that he doesn't get that pad over too far, opening the toe, as it were, and allowing the ball to come to him. Defended. That's the offside. And, here comes Yasir again, bowls, and he works this one from middle stump, getting right on top of any spin that might have been there. It'll bring him another single through mid wicket. He'll go to 17, 34 for 1.
Do you think we should be concerned about Nestle?
Did you put it on? Did you put it on a WhatsApp as well?
I put it on the chat. He's gone back, Root. He's tried to cut. That's exactly what he did in the first innings and got out. He really needs to
put his fucking head in
that shot for now. It really isn't acceptable to keep doing that, having got out in that way. You don't want to be crafting some little chop shot when the ball is that close to your off stump. He needs to settle down. He needs to put that shot in the locker. In comes Yasir bowls, trying to kid Root that was the googly by throwing it up wider of off stump. It just more or less goes straight on, and it's left alone. He's shaking his head, Root. He knows that he did wrong.
Yes.
And, hopefully he'll get that one out of his system. Tweets.
Yeah, shall I do them since Nestle's not here then?
Well, on the basis that yes, Nestle isn't here, no one else is going to do them.
Well, I'll do them then.
Yay!
Ravi the heavy roller ready said Jimmy to retire at 600. Can he go for 650? I doubt that somehow.
Well, I think he's got his eye on the Ashes next winter, but yeah, I don't know. He hasn't been at his best, has he? In this test, I don't think. Although he has bowled 1 or 2 reasonably good spells.
Yeah, no, he definitely has. Josie Oak says back from lunch and the collapse is on. We're doomed.
We are indeed. First ball of a new over from Yasir Shah is right up there, full, and well, it's dug out by Sibley, but it seems to have damaged the bottom of his bat a little bit. It's probably got some horrible reverberations through the handle there. And there is no run. Naseem is into his 3rd over. And already looking a little bit like the finished article at 17, it has to be said. Anyway, he's coming into Sibley, 17 from 48. He bowls, and Sibley is beaten by an absolute snorter that goes flying past the shoulder of his bat as he was pressing forward. It really fizzed off the pitch, that. And there's not really a lot that a batsman can do about that, however talented he may be.
That was a good
cracking delivery.
Yeah, it's a great delivery.
It's the kind of ball that got rid of Pope yesterday, but this time it fails to find the bat.
I'm watching it in freeze frame, so it's quite tricky.
Oh dear, okay.
Have you got
Well,
another
looks
way
like
of
it's me
watching
and
it?
no one else. Onto the front foot comes Sibley, defends this to extra cover, and there is no run. Any more tweets you can help us with?
Leah says that Event Horizon analogy really doesn't work, Hendo, because that's not how Event Horizons work. Come on, Hendo!
I have no idea. I've just heard the word Event Horizon. I know it's a film and it's sci-fi, so anything to do with science, I'll just say Event Horizon, and no one will be any the wiser apart from people who know about science.
The Event Horizon.
Maybe the bear will bring us up to date on that. To Sibley, and Sibley defends on the front foot to a man who has come in at a shortish mid-wicket, Yasir Shah. Maybe looking for him to just clip uppishly into the onside. But at the moment he's looking at the handle of his bat quite closely, Sibley, as if just checking that the ball hasn't done any damage to his favoured grey nickels.
The Event Horizon is the point at which light can't escape from a black hole, Hendo.
What's the dot disappearing in the distance then?
What?
That's
More
cool.
eyesight?
That's cool. Short ball simply ducks underneath it, and through it goes to Rizwan. Yes.
Nestle says he'll be here in a minute. He's
okay.
on later.
All right. I should have put it on the WhatsApp group as well. I only put it on the group chat on Zoom, so perhaps he didn't see it. Yeah, he wouldn't have been due to be on, but because we've had problems with Zoom and the feed that's going through to our commentators, we have been rather diminished in our ball-by-ball spread, as it were. Yes, capabilities. There's only 2 of us who can really do it at the moment. Tony is struggling with his equipment, if you'll pardon the expression. Naseem in to Sibley. Sibley plays that well. That did move off the pitch, but he adjusted and managed to fiddle it out into the offside. There is no run. 34 for 1.
Got a sense of Sibley settling in now.
Oh no!
Oh,
what have you done, Annie?
Sorry,
Annie!
Cursing.
I think you need to go and have a drink of hot water.
I've had one, it's fine.
Was it good? Okay. Sheena Freedy, none for 14 from 5. Mohammed Abbas, 1 for 13 from 6. Naseem Shah, none for 4 from 3. Yasir Shah has just started bowling. His first over went for 3, but he did induce a false shot from Root, who has to really settle down and concentrate. He's forward to this one, stretching to reach it, and plays it out into the offside. Root has 6, Sibley has 17. Yasir Shah wearing the big green numbers of 8 and 6 on his back. He's in again, bowls to Root. Root is forward, head over the ball, and defends to Azhar Ali at extra cover.
You'd make a good bingo caller, Hendo.
Me? Bingo. Now there's an idea for a job. It's got to be more fun than journalism, hasn't it? Yasir in again, bowls once more. Root is forward, more or less kills that one stone dead right in front of him. A bit like a footballer trapping the ball. And again, there is no run.
It's probably more profitable anyway, bingo calling.
Probably is.
Oh look!
There's probably not a lot of it going on at the moment, is there? Driven this time by Root. He's found the gap in the offside. He's going to get 1. He won't get another.
Hello.
Hello, Nestle.
He's back. Nestle is back.
So
we thought you'd been pecked. We thought you'd been pecked to death by Perky.
He's not here.
He is.
died
Don't
years
die.
ago. I'm going to disappear.
Okay.
Good.
We'll come back around about lunchtime because I'm going to be doing. I need to make sure that everything's set up for talking to a ninja.
Oh yeah, no, I'll be here. I'm just in the background.
Another book. He's written another book. He's
No, he's so prolific. Yeah.
Oh, now this turns a long way. It was a little bit flatter, a little bit shorter. Dominic Sibley went back as if to play it on the back foot, but then saw the turn and just left it alone.
Do you know what Twitter have done now?
No, what have they done now?
They barred me from abusing Priti Patel.
Forward comes Sibley, defends onto the onside. Abadali picks the ball up, gives it to Yasir Shah. That is the end of the over. Just a single from it. England have moved to 35 for 1.
You're on tweets, Nestle, by the way.
Yeah, we're on tweets, Nestle.
Where shall I just take a punt?
We're at Jay Grover.
Well, that doesn't narrow it down.
Oh,
not
picture.
really.
Mog's got pictures of cats saying International Cat Day.
Is it?
Happy
Apparently.
International Cat Day.
Yeah.
You're still very quiet, Nestle. I think you need to speak up a little bit. You're like
Is that
a
any
little
better?
boy lost in the
Yeah, that's better.
That's better. That's miles better.
Okay. So apart from that, Jay Grover says, "I like Grubby's jingles. They show enthusiasm. You go, girl. Hope Barbara likes the Memento Mori."
Okay. It's going to be Nasim Shah starting his 4th over into Joe Root. Joe Root fiddles this out on the offside, looking for a single, won't get it, holds his bat up, as he so often does, to signify to his partner that he won't be coming. And there is no run.
We want the odds for England 1-1, Pakistan 5-6, draw 250 to 1.
So it's still pretty close then.
Well, they've lost that wicket I told them not to lose before lunch.
Yeah, that was very, very naughty of them. I think it was partly because you'd gone off somewhere.
Yeah, they were looking for you.
That's what it was, and they didn't have your guidance.
I know. I'm burned to spirit aminal.
Nasim in again, worked through mid-wicket by Joe Root, starts the first one quickly, looking to see if he can force a second, but he can't. As Abadali does the fielding, running back. England move to 36 for 1. The target, if you're just joining us, is 277. It was all great fun this morning, where Yasir Shah came out deciding that he was going to hit everything that moved. Pretty much did for an over or two. Then got out, got behind, and finally the stumps were demolished of Nasim Shah, and we had a game on our hands.
Well, it was proper tail-ender batting, wasn't it?
Proper swishing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Proper swishing.
Yeah.
Not wrong with that.
No, it's what Broad's been doing recently.
Yep. Nasim in again to Sibley. He bowls and Sibley's forward confidently enough, pushing the ball firmly up to mid-on. 87 miles an hour, that latest delivery from Nasim.
There appears to be some chatter about Event Horizon.
That's to do with me. That's to do with me. Because
Hendo thought you disappeared into the Event Horizon, but he doesn't really understand science fiction. So.
You know how that? You know what I was trying to get was that effect. You know, from sort of televisions of the 70s, where you turned them off at night when the BBC shut down, and it would just disappear into a tiny dot of light.
Yeah, that's not the Event Horizon. Have you seen the film Event Horizon?
I possibly have, or possibly not.
Horror. That's a horror. That
was
one.
it horrible? Oh, it's got the edge, and it's all just short of slip. Oh my word! Just dive on the slip that one, or actually get hands to that and shell it. It's taken very close to the ground. Pushed at that one. Oh no, it's just short of him. I think to give him the benefit of the doubt there. Is it Asad Shafiq in that position?
It's a volley catch.
Yeah, it's right on the half volley. He's at first slip.
It's definitely short of him.
Yeah, a close one, but lucky for Sibley, gets away with it.
Lucky Sibley, eh?
Very lucky.
When
if only Joss had that sort of luck.
I was.
Come back to you, Nestle, in a moment. Nasim in bowls. Oh, now that's hit him on the pad. There's a big appeal. Richard Illingworth is not in the least bit interested. May have been a bit high. Don't know whether we're going to get a review. I don't think we are. So the score remains 36-1. Yes, Nestlers.
One of the places I worked, a girl. Remember when they were switching on the Hadron Collider at CERN, and there was all this rubbish on the internet about how it was going to create a black hole?
Oh yes.
And I convinced this girl I work with that it was going to happen, and I went through the science with her, and she got really upset, and she started crying and called her mum.
Oh, you beast, Nestlers! You absolute
End her
beast!
life, did she?
You horrible man!
I didn't mean her to do that. I mean,
That's a horrible thing to do.
Truly awful.
know she was
I
gonna
thought
do
you
that.
were nice.
Yeah, now we know. We see the real side of
was an
Nestle.
adult.
Onto the back foot goes Sibley, drops the ball down in front of him. He sort of suggests to Root that he might want to come for a single, but Root is not interested.
Hendo's an adult as well.
Sorry?
Hendo's an adult as well, and he thought it was a little dot on the TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, good job I wasn't working where you were. You would have destroyed me, Nestlers.
I know.
Anyway, that's the end of the over. 36-1.
Okay, so let's have a look. See, Event Horizon is an excellent and overlooked film. Yeah, some of it's good, Mog.
I thought it was excellent. I'm with you, Mark.
I don't like it when science fiction gets all brainy and everything. And anyway,
brainy.
Yeah,
It's all in your head. It's all dreams and fears.
Steve Kellett says, "Doomed. The best we can hope for is the inevitable England collapse." It's an entertaining one.
Well, yeah, and it has a comedy run out to go with it, presumably. Slip and a leg slip for Root as Yasir Shah starts his third over, and he comes forward, smothering the spin and easing the ball into the offside. There is no run.
Ravi, the heavy roller, reckons that Burns' batting style reminds him of Kepler vessels.
This is a leg spinner, which Root goes back to and then covers up outside his off stump to make sure, if it is the googly, that he's got something in the way of it. It isn't, it's the leg break. A little bit of dip just before it landed as well.
Joe Grover says, "Does anyone ever want to fail? So Bundy Butler will be adored in comparison. Hendo would be a great bingo caller. He makes me jump 6 feet whenever he calls a ball."
Here is Yasir in bowls, shoveled really by Root with bottom hand, digging it all the way to extra cover, and there is no run.
And Joe Grover's got the hump now, and he's going to bed with.
Why has he got the hump?
A cold compress and some night nurse. I don't know. He's just.
What's wrong with him?
Fuck you all.
You can't watch this game anymore. This is nicely threaded through the offside by Root out to Mohammed Abbas on the cover boundary. They'll take another single. He goes to 9. England 37 for 1. What have we got? 17 minutes for England to get through if they possibly can, and take stock at lunch. Probably some sort of meat stock, I'd imagine.
Mog's with me.
Is he? What, literally? Yasir in to Sibley. Sibley gets right forward, defends to Azhar Ali at extra cover, running in.
He's made people that work cry too, Nestlers. It's a legit way of interacting.
I don't know. Bullying in the workplace. That'd be great if it had come up in an industrial tribunal. Now Sibley moves his feet, runs down the wicket, gets to the pitch of the ball, and then just pushes it firmly all the way along the ground past the bowler, fielded by mid-on. And that is the end of the over. England are 37 for 1. They're going along in singles at the moment. Root has 9 and Sibley has 17.
Well, Matt Searle, his mind is filth. He said, "Did anyone else think Nesta's story about the LHC was going to end with him convincing her that the world was going to end, so they might as well have sex?" For God's sake, man!
Oh, good try, Nestlers. Yes,
people here are absolute filth.
What did you do to people? What did you do the night of Y2K, Nestlers?
I sat in my office because I was working in IT at the time, waiting for the world to end, but got paid a phenomenal amount of money to do nothing.
Driven by Root as Naseem Shah starts a new over. Not sure whether the man at mid-off has got to it. Yes, he has. He's done pretty well there. As Azhar Ali diving away to his left, so it's again just a single.
Don't you remember they thought that planes were going to fall out of the sky and everything?
Yeah, and it's quite ironic really, because I'm a terrible flyer anyway, but bizarrely I decided to get my flight back to Bermuda where I was working on that very night.
That doesn't surprise me.
And there were only it was on a big 777 and there were only 50 people on it, so it wasn't bad. Annie, I can't hear you. What's happened to you, Annie?
Your vocals have gone.
Your vocals are gone, Annie. I can't hear a thing from you.
Speak.
You try again, Annie.
No, you. Well, where's your microphone?
I think you might need some help with that. No, still can't hear you. Don't know what's going on out there. She's going to have to go and get some assistance. We're having all sorts of problems on Zoom today, unfortunately. Nassim is going to bowl. He's got a short square leg in there now. Pretty close, actually. He's in. Bowls down the leg side. Sibley tries to whip it away, but doesn't make contact. Missing out on a run, or maybe even 4 if he'd got it fine enough. England remain 38 for 1. We're into the 19th over of their second innings. And a reminder to stay with us at lunch, because we'll be talking to a ninja who's been on already this morning about, I don't know, it must be about his 3rd book in 3 years, isn't it? And it's more or less just out. I think it was out on Kindle only 2 days ago. I found it quite difficult to find information about it. But we will let you know more about it as we go through the lunch break. Outside the off stump, Foolish. Sibley leaves it alone, and through to the keeper it goes. Any tweets, Nestlers?
I'm sure there will be. Let me have a look. Sorry. England collapse incoming, says Wobble C. El Chopanos keeps changing his bloody Twitter handle.
What's he going? What's happening? Has he got a big identity crisis going on?
I think he's schizophrenic or something.
Yeah, I think he may be slightly odd.
Mental.
No, not that people are odd in those circumstances. Just want to make that perfectly clear. Nassim, halfway through his 5th over, comes in to bowl to Sibley. Sibley thinks about driving this and then leaves it. Won't be drawn into the stroke. I think a wise decision. And there is no run. We're down to 12 and a half minutes to lunch. We're doing the countdown to lunch. Can England get there with no more harm? Well, I think they will be very happy if they can do that.
Leah, the Wicked Witch, is with me.
In a spiritual sense?
She says if you convince someone that turning on CERN will create a black hole, you have to be denser than said black hole. It was all in the press at the time, wasn't it? I was just winding her up.
Yeah. Nassim in to bowl to Sibley. Sibley does drive this one, and it comes off a thick outside edge, and he'll be very happy with that. He was aiming it, I think, through cover. It went away through gully, and it's gone for 4 runs.
It's Nissan She. It's Nissan She.
Yep, so that releases a little bit of pressure. It wasn't a full half volley by any stretch of the imagination. I think he was a bit more in control of that shot than I maybe gave him credit for. It did go behind square, but he got quite a lot of bat on it.
Jay Grover hasn't got the hump.
Oh, good.
His head hurts.
Oh,
He'll
no.
still listen. I'm sure my lack of interaction is a loss for you all, but blood clots for no man.
Jeez. Don't say things like that.
I'm back. Annie's disappeared. Oh, no, she's back.
Oh, good. Well, we'll get Annie back soon, we hope. And she will be in hopefully good voice. Here is Nassim Shah, final ball of the over to Sibley. Sibley is forward, thinking about a single, but Nassim Shah runs wide to gather that and then threatens to throw at the striker's end, and Sibley wisely quickly gets himself back into safer ground. That is the end of the over. More tweets.
Let's have a look here. I'll be in the sea, and the communist says colleagues who don't do science. My mate Lila is a cider swigging legend, but not scientific. She asked why it was earlier in Singapore than the UK. I explained. She looked really confused by it all and said, "So it's all about how the sun orbits the Earth."
Well, you know, we all get confused by these things.
You know, no, we don't, Hendo.
Can you hear me now or not?
We can hear you now, and you sound wonderful again.
I don't know what happened. It just suddenly stopped. There's no reason. This bloody Zoom, I don't know.
Was it because you were trying to say great things about Joss Butler and Zoom just wouldn't have it anymore?
Maybe
Yeah,
that
could have
was
been.
it.
Yasir Shah is about to bowl his 4th over. He's got backward point, extra cover fairly short, mid-off, man back on the cover boundary. Root is having a good look around the field and imprinting it on his frontal cortex. In comes Yasir Shah, full ball dug out by Root towards extra cover, and there is no run. Yeah, you could have also convinced your colleague Nestle Boy that God was going to appear, because it was all about the God particle, wasn't it? You could have said actually when the particle comes together, when they find the God particle, God will be here, and he'll be ready for a chat. Beautiful sweep shot by Joe Root through mid wicket. Always a sign of a good sweeper if it goes in front of square. I think he's really come down on that, and well, I say he's come down on it. It was a full toss, to be fair, but he's put it away, and it's brought in 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So he's got a man at deep square leg, slightly backward. The man's not backward, but in position he is. Bowls to Root, defends on the front foot. It's a peel for LBW. Even Yasir Shah's laughing at that, saying to Mohammed Rizwan, "What are you up to? What are you up to, man?"
It's very weird watching it in freeze frame. You can't kind of get it, but you can't see.
I'd find that very irritating. I'm glad. I mean, that would be frustrating for me when there's such a great test match is on. Yasir in, he's got a slip and a leg slip. Root goes back, and he wants the single, but Azhar Ali doesn't want him to have it. And he runs swiftly to his left. It wasn't Azhar, it was Baba Azam. And
these Somerset players, they're all the same.
They're all the same, aren't they?
They're
they just flattered to deceive. 69 in the first innings, 5 in the second. Here's Yasir again in, bowls to Root. Root drives. This time he does find the gap. A little bit more into that shot. And it rolls away out to Mohammed Abbas on the cover boundary. They come through for a single. England go to 47 for 1. They need another 230 to win this test match.
Well, Ross McD says astrophysics and general space stuff is my area. Happy to answer any questions.
Oh,
what's the tiny little dot you used to get on televisions in the 1970s?
It's the vanishing point.
That's the vanishing point. Is that what I meant? That's what I meant.
I'll tell you something about TV and the Big Bang in a second.
Onto the back foot goes Sibley, plays the googly confidently enough into the onside. That is the end of the over. Yes, do tell us something.
Well, you know, the old TVs, you know, we used to switch them off or not have a channel, and there was that static on the screen.
Yeah.
That was the noise from the Big Bang.
Oh, that's right. I've heard that one before.
Yeah.
You're not going to try and convince us that the world's going to end, are you?
No. Well, it is.
One day.
It's not a case of if, it's when. I've got a question for Ross McD that no one can answer, and I asked this question of Brian Cox live. What was there before the Big Bang? Good
question. We'll come back to that.
All these questions.
We'll see if we can do that in the next 10 minutes. Along those lines,
wouldn't it be incredible if we actually came up with the answer on Guerrilla Cricket?
It would, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think that would help our world fame. We might win the Nobel Prize for Science. Who knows? Shadab Khan is going to come into the attack. We'll jingle him up. Why not?
What's the matter, you? Show a little respect. Peleg is spitting his heart, but he turns it off at the deck. Oh, he's not too bad. He's always got a plan. Shadab Khan.
Bowls to Root. Root scoops this really along the ground to the man at extra cover. And there is no run. We have 6 minutes to go before lunch. Can England get through without any more disasters? Onto the back foot goes Root, turns it away past the man at short leg, who in the end leaves it to a colleague running in from the boundary. They go through for 1. Root moves to 16. And
I
England...
didn't jinx Sibley earlier. You see, he's still here.
Oh no, and you've done it again!
No, because I didn't, therefore it's not going to happen.
Well, you have more faith in the cricket gods than I do. Talking of cricket god particle. Now, that would be good, wouldn't it? Cricket god particle. Let's smash some things together. Who would we have to smash together to get the cricket god particle? Shadab in, bowls, driven back to Shadab Khan, and there is no run. Yeah, we'll put that out to the Twitter sphere. Which cricketers would we need to smash together at an incredible speed to get the cricket god particle? Which we then can control.
Ambrose.
Yeah, possibly. Shadab into Sibley. Sibley gets right forward, gets the back leg round as well to balance himself as he plays that into the onside. And there is no run. I've got a feeling that Shadab does something different with his wrist from most leg spinners. This is flicked away. It's a full toss, and Mohammed Abbas is having to run back from mid-wicket. He's not eventually going to get there. Shaheen Afridi, I think it is, who comes round. A long chase for him, or a long run round the boundary. And they've got through for 3. England's 50 is up. England are 51 for 1. And Sibley has gone on to 24.
Do you think they're getting used to not having a crowd?
Well, I think cricketers, just in general, get used to not having crowds a lot of the time. I mean, if you think in club cricket, you just go out to do your best, don't you? You don't think...
Yeah, I know, but...
No, because there's no one here to watch me. Because Annie's not... If not, Annie's not... Does Duncan or Fraser, when they're batting, do they think if Annie's not there scoring, do they think they're not going to bother?
Well, it doesn't happen if I'm not there.
Oh, right. No cricket happens when you're not there. It's true. Shadab in to Root. Oh, and he leaves one that turns, but... Well, only just enough to miss the off stump, I have to say. And then he grins broadly while Shadab wanders away with his hands on his head, wondering, oh my goodness, that was close. That's the end of the over. Nestlers.
I was really nervous when we did that commentary at Lord's for that World 11 versus the West Indies for the hurricane relief.
Yeah.
Because we were up in the media centre and Viv Richards was in the ground.
He was there.
If I'd walked up there and he would have been sitting there, I think I just would have melted into a pool of nonsense.
Again, you were melting earlier.
He's always melting.
You're always melting.
Melting.
Oh, heat. You don't like the heat.
Yeah.
No.
Melting. Well, he is a bar of chocolate, isn't he, Nestle boy? So in this kind of heat, he will tend to.
Ross McD liked my question.
Oh, good. I hope he's going to answer it. Onto the back foot goes Sibley and finds the gap in the offside to thread that out to Mohammad Abbas and picks up another single. He goes to 25. England 52 for 1. We have 3 minutes to go before lunch, and we have 5 balls to get through. Will England be able to make this the final over of the pre-lunch session? Root just scratching his mark, trying to use up a little bit of time. I'm sure
doing his best, isn't
what he wants to do, isn't it? And now settles down and waits for Yasir and strokes this one again through a gap between backward point and extra cover, and they'll take another easy single and they'll go to 53 for 1. Root onto 17.
He's so much nicer to watch batting than Sibley. It's just a different
it is, yes,
experience.
I know, absolutely, yes. I mean, obviously one wants to see Sibley do well, but it's not gratifying really, is it? Outside the off stump, a bit of spin, a bit of bounce, but too wide and well read by Sibley.
You try watching Sibley in freeze frame.
Yeah, it's not good.
Hang on, is there a difference?
Yeah.
Anyway, here's Yasir again. Into Sibley. Sibley gets forward, defends it to the man at short square leg. And there is no run. 2 balls to go. They're trying to get the ball back to Yasir Shah quickly. See if they can get another one. Squeeze another one in before lunch. And Sibley is just messing with his boots. He's taking his gloves off. He's doing everything he possibly can to make this the last over. Although the umpire has had to come in from square leg to rearrange the stumps. Don't do that. Well, we might have to leave that question about God particles and various things and what came before the Big Bang until after lunch.
No, it's all right. I can do it before.
Short and turning into Sibley, and he flicks it away with a turn of the right hand through square leg and picks up another single.
I know you're desperate to go and get a pastry, but it won't take
no,
that
I'm
long.
not. I'm going to be here at lunch because I've got to talk to An Ninja about his new book.
Anindo.
Anindo is called now.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I did hear that. Yes. Mind you, I've been talking to quite a few IT people in India of late, and they insist on calling me Niggle from
I like that.
parts of Bangalore.
Niggle.
It's the onside. They're going to take another single. Root trots through. He goes to 18, 55 for 1. And they say, is that Niggle? I say, it's Nigel. I say, well, Niggle.
I'm Chav, if that helps.
Oh, you're Chav?
Yeah, quite regularly.
Hello, Miss Chav.
Yeah.
I'm Seen.
You're Seen, of course. Yes, we were talking about that yesterday, weren't we? That's lunch. England have managed to get through without losing a second wicket. They're 55 for 1. They need... Oh, this is spooky. Do you know what they need to win? They need 2 to win.
Stop it.
Oh, exciting stuff. Let's have some tweets.
Okay.
A Nindo or a Ninja has rejoined us. I can see. So we will be talking to him in a minute. But
I'll
let's just
see you after
tidy up.
lunch then.
Yeah, we'll see you after lunch, Annie. Let's just tidy up the remaining tweets of the morning.
Before the Big Bang, says Spangly Sai, there was nothing, which then exploded. Lear the Wicked Witch says, in the beginning the universe was created. This was widely regarded as a very bad move. Or something
that sounds
like that.
the
Hitchhiker's Guide to the
Hitchhiker's
Galaxy.
Guide, yes.
Josie Oak says, I know a flat earther. He claims to be a journalist. I've told him when drunk and fed up with him that I know where his journalistic career went, believing all this flat earth bollocks. He won a curved
Right,
TV.
okay.
He took it back and demanded a flat one.
Well, the thing is, mate, Nestle boy, my journalistic career is going nowhere, and I don't actually believe in a flat earth. So I'm not sure the two are necessarily put together.
Ross McD says about my question about the Big Bang, he says, a bloody good question. Sadly, the answer is both lightly unknowable by any method of empiricism and also has little bearing on what we know of the universe today, apart from perhaps having had some role in how this one came to be. Kind of what Brian Cox told me, but a bit shorter. I regret asking that question to him. Before the Big Bang, there was Wilfrid Rhodes, George Hurst and Schofield Hay, says Neil Franklin. Should we leave it there for now because you've got to do an interview? I think I think we've actually figured out what was there before the Big Bang on Guerrilla Cricket. What do you reckon?
Well, actually, I mean, if you're out there on the Twitter sphere, you're quite entitled to get in touch over the lunch break, and we'll read out after lunch your theories on the origin of the universe.
Or you could ask questions about Ndinda's book.
Oh yes, indeed you can. I'll try and keep an eye on Twitter just in case you have any input that you want read out. An India or an Indo? Is it an Indo? Is that right now?
An Indo's right. I haven't recently, Nigel.
Okay. Indeed. Now we're going to talk about the fact that you are incredibly prolific as an author, because I thought when you were talking to Tony recently about your book Wizards of Spin, I think it's called, that was your latest book, but you've gone and done another one which has just come out. Is that right?
That's correct. So this is really a small one, but it's something which it's a project which came up fairly recently.
Yep.
So it's quite interesting because the way the digital world's taken over the publishing industry. Obviously, young readers read much more online and on Kindle. So Amazon India, actually, because of this whole pandemic, Amazon weren't able to do their Prime Day, which is their big sale in 1 year where they do the launches, etc., anywhere else. And India was one country where, I guess because of the size, they decided that if they did the experiment there, it could go well, then they'd do it in the US. So on the occasion of that, which was 6th and 7th of this month, earlier this week, for the first time, they also commissioned 11 books.
Right.
And one of them was on sports, and it happened to be on cricket, and it was mine. The rest were mainly fiction and a few other things. So it was quite an interesting thing because in 1971, I'm sure you recall from your childhood, and Tony certainly does, was the first time that India managed to beat England in England with Chandrasekhar's 6 for 38. They won, India won both in West Indies and in England that year. And outside New Zealand, that was the first overseas wins, test wins, since test debut in 1932. So it took 4 decades to get that done.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people, I mean, I do remember very vaguely that series in the summer of '71, but a lot of people that think really that India came of age in their World Cup victory in 1983, and certainly probably to people in England and maybe around the world rather than India itself, they would have felt that. But 1971, that must have been an amazing feeling for Indians to see their team go away and win 2 series in succession.
Absolutely, and which is why I call the book The Greatest Year, because you have 40 years of not being able to win. abroad, other than Tiger Pataudi winning the first overseas series in New Zealand. But then, as we all know, New Zealand was the weakest side in the world for many years. So that probably counted for a bit less. And then this is so next year is the 50th year of this event.
Right.
And that was the occasion to celebrate. So I was asked to write this book, and like for all my other books, the way I look at it is it's a story.
Yep.
So when you tell a story, you need to tell a good story, and it's quite a short read, and it's only available on Amazon India as an ebook for the next 1 year, and then there are other possibilities.
Right.
What's interesting is that there was a certain word count within which I had to. So it was almost like writing a long read for the Cricketer or the Wisden almanac.
Yep.
And it was just a bit bigger. So I had to fit in the story in there, and it was incredibly interesting because I spoke to a number of the players who played in that in those two series.
Yeah.
The team was very similar in composition, but there were a few changes here and there, given that they were going from the pitches of West Indies to England.
Yeah.
And I actually, it's a six chapters of the book, and I devote one of the chapters to team selection because I think that was an absolutely intriguing part of the whole story.
Why was that? I mean, was it a particularly different team that they took to the West Indies initially than they had produced before?
Yes, actually, what happened was I think there was it went deeper than that. There was Indian selection has always been regional.
Oh yes, of course, yes.
You have the north, south, east, west, central. So there were five zones, 5 selectors, one representing each zone, which continues to at this day actually, with minor tweaks. And as a result of that, of course, there was a lot of regional bias traditionally of people who were chosen. Now, for that, what happened was Tiger Pataudi, Mansur Ali Khan Pataudi, was the captain. He was a very successful captain, won the series in New Zealand, went back. Then he was told by the new chairman of selectors, Vijay Merchant, a great batsman himself, and he has the second best first-class average after Don Bradman. So he was quite an amazing batsman. And he became the chairman of selectors, and he in youth. So he basically, in the 2 home series that preceded these 2 series, forced Pataudi to select a team which was primarily very, very young and inexperienced.
Right.
And so they lost one series, they drew the other one, and long story short, complete shocker, Pataudi loses his job as captain.
Right.
And Ajit Wadekar gets selected as captain, and there are a lot of backstories to that. One story which I really like is Wadekar, essentially just before the captaincy selection, is at the nets with Pataudi, and he tells Pataudi jokingly, "Can you make sure I'm on the tour squad?"
Right.
And come selection time, and he's the captain. And so there's a lot of intrigue. I'm not going to give that away, but there's a lot of intrigue in that team selection, and a lot of people were unhappy, etc. So I have a couple of photographs in there of sports magazine covers expressing the unhappiness with the selection of the team. And that's very interesting because then you see what happened with the results.
Yeah.
So it was a very interesting aspect, that one, team selection.
It's interesting though. I mean, when you look through those 2 tours, it was a 5-match tour to the West Indies, wasn't it, and a 3-match tour in England. And you look at that and you think, well, what were the pitches like in the West Indies at that point? I imagine reasonably quick. You obviously went out there with predominantly a spin attack. I mean, I look at 1 or 2 of those guys in that team. For some reason, one of my first memories of the Indian cricket team is watching Abid Ali bowl. And there's an Abid Ali in this team that Pakistan have got at the moment, so it always takes me back a little bit. And he was very military medium, as I recall. But this was a time when Indian spin really came to the fore.
Yeah, so Indian spin essentially was brought to the fore by Tiger Pataudi, which was about what 3 years before that is
Right.
when when Prasanna came in. He went out because he went to do his engineering degree, came back, but in the meantime Bishan Bedi came, Venkatragavan came, Chandrasekhar came, and then Prasanna came back. So there was the whole quartet, the spin quartet.
Yeah.
And so Ajit Wadekar got the benefit of that whole quartet ready, mature to play, which was great for him. But you're absolutely right. So that was what the spin department or the bowling department depended on. But also was interesting was because for the West Indies, they picked Salim Durrani, who throughout his career had been sort of he was quite a volatile character, and some captains liked him, some didn't. So he had an on-off career.
Right.
But from all accounts that I've heard, he was just an unbelievable spinner, and an excellent batsman. He was probably one of the great all-rounders before Kapil Dev, and so Salim Durrani came into that team because of his batting performances.
Right.
And in the West Indies, after the first class match where he scored a century, he failed in every innings.
Right.
His contribution was with the ball. So to go back to the pitches, yes, there were relatively fast pitches. Some of them weren't very good in terms of the 1976 Sabina Park pitch where Michael Holding basically sent the entire Indian team to the hospital.
Oh yes, indeed, of course, absolutely. Yeah, they ended up with 7 players, didn't they? Effectively.
Exactly, and they all came back with bandaged hands. Landed in Bombay. Yeah. So the pitches weren't that bad, but they were quite bad. But what had happened by then was that Hall and Griffith were not there in the team anymore. So the West Indies pace attack was quite depleted.
Right.
And I think the Indians had the benefit of that because they went in expecting to face really quick bowlers on really quick pitches, and quick pitches, but they found less ferocious bowlers.
Right.
And Sunil Gavaskar was making his debut. Scored 774 runs in the test matches, in the four test matches that he played. He didn't play in the first, he was injured.
Right.
And the rest is history.
Of course, it was a West Indies side that was led by Gary Sobers. There were some famous names there, the likes of Rowan Kanai, Clive Lloyd, of course, and Roy Fredericks, who played in the first World Cup final. I remember him treading on his stumps, I think, in that game. But there were a lot of unfamiliar names to me, I have to say. I mean, I'd have thought by 1971 I was kind of aware of West Indies and Indian teams and who was out there. But definitely some looking through, having a quick flick through before talking to you about this. There were a number of West Indies names that I didn't recognise, and I guess these were guys that really only played 3 or 4 test matches, some of them.
Yeah, I think they were in transition at that time. So they had the batting, as you mentioned, was 4 or 5 of them who were the best in the world at that as far as batting went. But then the middle order, wicket keeping. So Derek Murray had not yet come in. So I think they had 2 or 3 wicket keepers in the 5 test matches.
Right.
They had Desmond Lewis, who almost scored a century. I think he scored 99, and that remained his highest score.
Right.
And he was also West Indies table tennis champion. So
really.
It was a team in development.
I always think that I play quite a bit of table tennis when I was playing cricket as well, and I mean it's a very good game to sharpen your reactions, really.
Yeah, indeed. Especially if you're a keeper, I guess it's it's a good game to use for that.
Now let's talk about this tour in the West Indies, the 5 Test tour. I mean, we've become used in the modern era. We've become used to the fact that games are won and lost these days. But if you look through that 8 Test grouping, the 5 Tests in the West Indies and then the 3 in England, 6 of those matches were drawn, which tells you it was a slightly different era. Why were those games drawn? I had a quick look at the West Indies totals, and it seemed like there were some close games that actually just ended up being draws, which is fine. So was it a very competitive series?
It was a very competitive series. So the Indians went in, with a poor reputation. I think that not won a test match against West Indies after playing 23 or 24 tests.
Right.
It was. They were considered a club side. There were media which called them a club side, which got them riled a bit. And then in the first innings, I think I can't remember the score now, but I think they were down like 4 or 5 wickets, less than 30 on the board.
Oh, really?
Dilip Sardesai, who was in his mid-30s at that time and had been taken by Wadekar because he respected his advice and he needed some experienced people he trusted in the team. He was very clear about that.
Right.
Went in there and scored a double century, and at that point, and that completely turned the whole series around.
That would have been what, presumably at the Trinidad, the first Trinidad test, because there were 2 tests in Trinidad, weren't there?
Yeah. So that would be the first Trinidad test. Yes.
Yeah.
And then Gavaskar came in from the second test and immediately made an impact. And then it was Sardesai, Gavaskar with the batting. They made a difference. Abid Ali bowled very, very well. You mentioned Abid Ali. So,
I did, yes.
I have a quote in there somewhere where I'm quoting a BBC commentator who says here during the England series, where he says, "Here comes Abid Ali running in faster than he bowls." So,
that's absolutely right. That is a perfect description. That's almost Arlottian in its in the way that it describes the man, actually. Sorry, go on.
The breakthroughs, he took brilliant wickets, and he had the last laugh.
Well, I always got the impression that he was bowled for 5 overs because India thought they ought to have something resembling a quick bowler to start with before they got onto the spinners. Was that the sort of feeling that you had at that time?
Yeah, so there was him and Eknath Solkar opening the bowling, but both of them could move the ball around a lot. So they were very useful bowlers. And what's interesting is you say that, but I think it's in the final test when Wadekar is trying not to let the West Indies level the series, and it's a 6-day test, and Sobers is doing his best to win it.
Yeah.
So I had long chats with Abid Ali. Actually, I was fortunate to get hold of him. He lives in the US at the moment, and I had him on the phone for almost a couple of hours, and he was the absolute delight telling me stories. And so he tells me the story about he bowled, I think, 35-40 overs,
right?
Because Wadekar just told him slow the game down.
Okay.
And he slowed the game down. So he told me the ball just dropped out of my hand, and then I had to go back to my bowling mark, and
so the gamesmanship was well and truly underway at that point.
Absolutely, and he did manage to draw that. And so in both the series, there was the winning margin was 1-0.
Yes.
And there were crucial moments where very clearly the match was won.
Right.
But in the end, it was two series which were won.
So how was that? I mean, how was it reported at the time in India as it was ongoing? As we say, the 5-test series in the West Indies, the first match in Kingston was drawn. The second match was the crucial one, which was won in Trinidad, in Port of Spain. I mean, how at that moment, I don't even know whether India had won a game in the West Indies at that point. From what I understand, just doing my looking back, when they last toured the West Indies, I think it was 10 years before, they'd been beaten 5-0. So how was this test victory, how was that reported and how was that relayed to India, and what was the feeling in India when that happened?
Well, there was complete euphoria in and rightfully so when the victory came through. Of course, you're talking about 1971, so and communications were not what they used to be.
Yeah.
So I've read reports of the next morning where people write reports. This is what I read on the telex, right?
Yes.
So because they don't have the full report. and then you wait for the next issue of Sports Week, which was the big magazine at that time, to report the full story. And that's when, so in the next issue you get the real story where the correspondents are writing from. Playfair was the same. I mean, when Playfair were reporting, it was the same, right?
Well, I suppose it sort of kind of reminds me a little bit of how football used to be reported in this country, where you used to have the evening paper, the Pink 'Un or the Green 'Un or something like that, the special football paper on a Saturday evening, and what you would get was basically running copy from the journalist who'd be phoning it back in to the desk, and then of course by the Sunday or the Monday you would get the total story. It was why in a way you would get a massive reportage about stuff that didn't seem to matter that much, just simply to fill the space. So I imagine it was a little bit like that.
Oh, absolutely, it was. And when they came back, because there was a gap of I think a couple of months between the two tours, 3 months, I think. When they came back, I've seen small films archive clips of a reception at the Cricket Club of India, which was given to those who came back to Bombay. Not the entire team came back to Bombay. So there's young Sunil Gavaskar, 21 years old, looking completely bemused by the attention. There's photos of him and Solkar and everyone sitting and looking at each other, and they're like, what did we just do, right? And then you have reports, which before the England tour, which talk about this was a fluke.
Oh right, yeah.
So they've beaten the West Indies, but you're going to get slaughtered by England.
Surely though, I mean, it's not a fluke when you win a 5-match series, really, is it? It isn't. You've had to work bloody hard. Even if you've eked out a 1-0 win, it's only a 1-0 win. It's still a whole series. It's 5 matches. I don't think it does seem that perhaps there was a sort of a little bit of an inferiority complex.
Absolutely, there was, because you've gone through 40 years of not winning test matches with any degree of regularity, and certainly not winning abroad. People, I guess the cynics would take it with a pinch of salt, so there was the interviews with ex-players, etc. Some were a bit more confident than the others. The interesting thing was, I don't know if you recall, but there was the Ashes going on just before that, and it had won the series, and there was Bob Willis with amazing performances who pulled it through. John Snow, not Bob Willis.
John Snow, yes.
My mistake. And Illingworth, writing for one of the Indian magazines, actually was the only one I saw who seemed confident that India would do well in England.
Oh, really?
He actually called it, he thought that it was the strongest Indian team to tour England since India had been playing in England.
So when would the previous tour of England have been undertaken by India? How many years before?
7.
Had they last toured?
1967, so 4 years before that.
Right.
And that was when they first had the quartet, and actually Edgbaston was the only time in the entire decade and a half that the quartet bowled together where the 4 of them played in one match.
So basically, Illingworth would have had a chance to see these guys before. He wasn't going purely off reputation and what they'd done in the West Indies.
No, and he knew that first they had faced the pacey wickets in the West Indies and for 5 tests for a long tour, so they're probably not afraid of fast bowling anymore. And then he had seen the spin quartet 4 years before and knew that they had matured by then. So I think he's making a good call there in not underestimating his opponents. Not that he expected to lose. If you read his comments during the series, he was not very happy. But
right, okay. So who else did you talk to? Who else were the main contributors to this? Because you said, it's quite interesting. I looked it up on, and I could only find it on Amazon India, as you say, at the moment anyway. and it says 53 pages, so it's quite concentrated. It would appear to me. You've had to really nail it down to sort of the essence, I suppose.
Absolutely. So as one reader wrote into me on Twitter direct message today that he's really enjoyed reading it as a capsule, and that's what it is, because I had a restriction on because it's an ebook, etc., as I explained, so I had to really put it succinctly, the story in a very readable manner. And so it was a very interesting experience putting that together. So are you asking on who I'd spoken to?
Yes, who are the main contributors in terms of those that you got hold of?
I'd spoken to the spinners about the 1971 rule when I wrote my book, which was published last November. So I already had those interviews. So, but I also spoke to another very interesting gentleman called Kenya Jayantilal. Now, Jayantilal was taken as an opening batsman to West Indies. Before the tour, he was labelled by Vinu Mankad, who knew his cricket, as the future of the opening slot for India. He went in there. He played in the first Test match. He got extremely unlucky in getting the sort of delivery which Ben Stokes got. The ball, he thought the ball was leaving, and then sort of came back in, took the edge from his bat. The ball was going out, so Sobers dived one way, and then Sobers, being Sobers, saw the ball dived the other way and picked the ball up with one hand. There was no second innings to that test, and Jayantilal never played again.
One of those one-test wonders, I suppose. Yes, and it seems unfair, doesn't it?
And he's a man, and everyone else I spoke to said he was a really good batsman, and he's laughing about it. He's a very, very good soul, and he actually gave me a lot of his personal photographs, which I've put in the book.
Oh, that's nice.
From the two tours, and that's quite a nice addition to the book.
Why had it taken India so long to win abroad? I mean, you touch on the fact that they, in some circles, were seen as a club side, but we become aware of India being so fanatical about cricket, and maybe even more so now. But they were fanatical then, even when they weren't winning. How did they remain so fanatical when things were constantly going against them?
I think cricket's always been a game which the whole country identified with, and I think the difference that you see today is that cricket's the only game the whole country identifies with. But at that point in time, until the 1940s, 50s, 60s, India had an amazing hockey team.
Yes,
the world-beating hockey team for decades. So hockey was the national game, and it was very, very popular across the country. Football was popular. India did reasonably well in football compared to how they're doing now, and cricket was a game which was also very, very popular. So because it was played everywhere and for many, many years, I think people just identified with the players. There were some great players, and the fact that they didn't win earlier, I think there's also a luck factor there, right? I mean, rain fears but then there's also the confidence factor that once you do it, you can do it, and that first time is always very, very difficult.
So I suppose what I'm getting at is could the interest in cricket in India have faded had they not had the impetus of this couple of victories? Do you think that this was a defining moment?
It was absolutely, in my mind, the first great defining moment in Indian cricket. The fact that coming out of nowhere, India beat West Indies. Gary Sobers still, he would lose his captaincy after that, but as a batsman, he had amazing scores. If you look at the scores in that series, I mean, he was scoring centuries and double centuries virtually every match.
Yeah.
So and then there was Ron Kanai, Clive Lloyd coming up, etc. So it was a good side, and then beating England in England, which, you know, if you like to look at it as it's a psychological victory, not only for cricket, but against colonialism in a way.
Yes, a political statement in a way.
And I think that was very, very important. So probably winning in England was even more important than winning in West Indies. And those two victories, when they came back, I mean, I start the book with the reception that they received when they came back, and describing the feelings of the players, etc., which for me was incredibly interesting. And there are some films out there, Films Division films, which show the reception and what happened when they came back, and it was like they'd won the World Cup.
Yeah.
So which would happen, 22 years later.
Yeah.
12 years later. Right?
12 years later, yeah.
Later. And so the 1983, which you started off with, for me is the second defining moment where I think Kapil Dev took it from a level where India was, in test matches by that time, I think the fans were ready to accept victories and expected them to win off and on. But then as a one-day side, they were nowhere. So 83, I think, completely changed that and brought Indian cricket up to another level.
I suppose also because West Indies was so dominant, weren't they? They'd won 2 World Cups already and
exactly.
were expected to win a third. I remember myself that day. I mean, I think everyone at that point who was a neutral was cheering for India. They really wanted to see India win that. I've got the scorecard up from the final test, the decisive test between England and India, which was at the Oval, wasn't it, in August 1971. And England actually took a lead from the first innings, didn't they? They were 70 or 80 runs ahead. What happened in that second England innings where they were bowled out for 101?
Well, Bhagwat Chandrasekhar happened. And this is just so incredibly interesting, because when I spoke to Chandra for my previous book Wizards, and we spent so much time over this match, justifiably so, and he was almost not going to play in that test match. Not having a great series. He was coming back from injury and an accident and had not been picked for the West Indies because he was an unorthodox bowler, and the chairman of selectors didn't like unorthodox players. So when he was forced, the chairman of selectors was forced to pick Chandra for England, and he called it a risk.
Right.
When he allowed him to be picked in the team. And then in that innings, he came in, and England were just completely skittled out by some brilliant bowling, by some great catching, and you can't forget that, because when you talk about spin, when you talk about these victories, you have to remember that it's so underestimated that India probably had the best close-in catching cordon in the world at the time.
Right. So you need. I mean, that was to support those bowlers. You needed that.
Yeah. And previous bowlers may not have taken so many wickets. India may not have won before, indeed, because they didn't have that support. India had great spinners before that, but not the kind of catching support the quartet did. Eknath Solkar, Abid Ali. So I have something with Abid Ali there, where so you have Eknath Solkar and Abid Ali at forward and backward short leg.
Right.
But Abid Ali, when he was playing for Hyderabad in the domestic tournament, didn't have Solkar because Solkar was for Bombay.
Right.
And so ML Jayasinghe, his captain, used to put him somewhere between traditional short leg, I guess, between forward short leg. And he used to say, I play with 12 players. I have Abid at forward and backward short leg.
Well, I mean, it's quite interesting. I'm looking at that scorecard, and I know I was referring to the fact that Abid Ali seemed to be used just to get a bit of shine off the ball for the spinners, and obviously you have given more substance to what he did for Indian cricket, especially. But he did only bowl those 3 overs in that second innings, and then the spinners were on. Chandrasekhar took 6 for 38, Venkat 2 for 44, and I think Bishan Bedi just had the 1 over and picked up the wicket of Derek Underwood, and it left India chasing 173 to win. Now I wonder if I don't know what the sort of TV coverage you could get at that point was. How were you absorbing what was happening in that India second innings, as they basically crept to the total, didn't they?
Yeah, they crept to the total. Well, there was no TV coverage.
Right. So was it just radio you were relying on?
Radio.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember much about it because I was 4 years old. But
right.
But if I had been listening to it, I'd have been listening to it on the radio for sure.
Right.
It was a very slow progress. And people were nervous, right?
Yes, I can imagine. Yeah.
So there's the story that which is true actually, that Wadekar got out and he went back in and he went to sleep.
That's right. Yes, I remember this story now. Yes, absolutely. And he didn't want to be woken up until they'd won. Was that right?
He was not woken up till they won, and of course he got up and he claimed that he always knew India was going to win, which is why he went to sleep.
Well, he'd been run out for 45, didn't he? I should just bring those listeners who aren't au fait with this particular Test match that it took India 101 overs to get to their total of 174. That must have just, as you say, you were too young to be able to appreciate it, but that must have put everyone listening to it in radios around India. Must have put them through the ringer.
It did. I've spoken to part of the book. I have quotes in there from a few people who do remember that and they listen to it on the radio and their experiences, and it's absolutely true that it was really tense. Everyone knew it was a small total, but there was so many instances of Test matches where you don't get to the small total in the fourth innings.
Absolutely.
So it was a very, very tense moment. And I'm not going to give the end away, but Abid Ali did hit the winning runs.
Brilliant! What a hero. Well, I hope when you next speak to Abid Ali, you will pass on my my best wishes to him, because he really is a memory of my formative years of watching cricket. It's amazing to think that you can. In a strange sense, there's a link between him and me from 1971, which I find quite nice. Just to say that. Basically, what you say in your introduction, I think, is a good way of summing it up. It was as if the gods had ordained that 1971 would be the year when all of India's efforts of the previous decades would bear fruit in one glorious season of cricket, and it's a tribute to those teams, isn't it? It's a succinct book, but it's a tribute to those guys who certainly, as a team abroad, put India on the map as a serious force. It's called The Greatest Year, the 1971 Tours of West India.